bring the band in. Woo! Well, alright. Yeah, they want me to fit in, but I can't. I'm too different with it. Too advanced to think, you know my intuition. I got bars and ink, but never in a prison. Too far gone, never gonna sit and listen. This is optimism mixed with the best, you get it. What you're seeing is a beast in the flesh, I'm vetted up. I don't need to try to speak for the rest. Always keep it abrupt, they wanna keep it a mess, you know. This is what you get when you're sitting as a vet. But everybody know that you're a threat. With the rest, let's go. We won't fit in a box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Ride us all to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box, no. We don't quit, we won't stop, no. Ride us all to the top, oh. We won't fit in your box, no. Look, I try to tell you we don't fit in your box. Why you try to box me and I got the key to unlock? I know the locksmiths, optics, speak of the locks. I'm eating lobster, chopsticks, freaking the boss, you know. I'll never fit in where I go at. Ooh, boss talk like I'm Boaz. What fit in when you know you can stand out still? They remember you more when you hand out deals. Let's go. We won't fit in your box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Ride us all to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box, no. We don't quit, we won't stop, no. Ride us all to the top, oh. We won't fit in your box, no. Don't box me in, I do my own thing, spirit is right within. I got my own way, valid is not within. Look at the way that I do my outfit won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your vibes, no. We don't quit, we won't stop, no. Ride us out to the top, whoa. We won't fit in your vibes, no. Thank you, Ben, for coming out tonight. My name is Son of Augustine. Let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to PMCO EU. Of course, it is day one of our last chance qualifiers. My name is EK, and I'm joined here by Crowns. Crowns, how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing today?
Pretty excited, of course, as we know, right? PMCO, this is where it all starts. This is where teams get the opportunity to progress their way forward up into those pro leagues. So, of course, we'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Be sure to hit us up on social media. As you can see, the links down below on the screen. And tell us what your thoughts are, right? What you think of these teams, how they're performing. And are you as excited as we are to see them progress closer and closer, firstly getting themselves over into those finals before having a bit of an opportunity later on to maybe one day feature on the pro seas. In the meanwhile, of course, so a quick look at the format, right? We are going to be looking at 16 teams playing 12 matches. Now, to break that down, we will have 3 days consisting of 4 rounds, and well, in each one, they are going to be playing 4 matches per day. So quite a bit of an opportunity here for the teams to get themselves situated and assured with what exactly is going to be happening out on the battlefield.
Yep, and that is something that these teams are going to be at least getting used to. It's just 4 games. There isn't too much stress or fatigue that will come through it, and of course, the point system remains the same. So it is pretty much business as usual. This is getting these teams used to what we're going to be seeing in the higher stages, as we get 10 points for first place, trickling down to about 1 point there for 7th to 8th position, 9 points to 16. You get none, and that is something that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, and of course, what we're also looking forward to is our prize pool breakdown here. As you can see, first place is going to be worth $6,000, 2.5. Second place, rather, is going to be $3,500. Third place being worth $2,000. Then, of course, we make our way down all the way to that 9th to 13th, in which the teams will be walking away with $240 each. So, a decent, bit of bank to get the party started. But speaking about getting the party started, of course, this is going to be quite an exciting day. We've got 4 maps that our teams are going to be looking to grind their way through. Of course, if you're curious as to who our teams are, well, here they are. As you can see the names on screen, I can already see that Brave, I'm going to call them only Brave because they have not the foggiest of clues how to pronounce that first part of their name. So I'll just stick with Brave, at least we know who we are referring to on that one. But yeah, a few new names, right? Names that we've not necessarily seen before. I have seen TPS Esports in the past, so I'm curious to see what kind of representation we could potentially see come through here.
Yeah, pretty much familiarize yourself with the new teams, potential new teams that we might be seeing in that European region. But I don't know, I've not seen any of these teams before, so I'm even more excited to see what they can bring to the table. But one team whose name and logo actually is calling my name, I think I don't even have to say it. This big baby up there, I think that is one team that I'm already supporting. I just want to see what they've got, and I really hope they're able to live up to my excitement.
Well, we'll find out soon. Speaking of which, let's take a look at our map rotation for the day. Of course, we are going to be starting on Erangel, ending on Erangel, and then we've got to add a little bit to the sandwich, right? We've got to add a little bit of that spice coming through from the desert. Of course, adding a little bit of kick comes through from the jungle. So, yeah, a beautiful map rotation. The teams will have ample opportunity to prove themselves, and of course, well, what better way to get it started with the Erangel at the beginning and the end?
Yep, that is the sandwich that we all love to eat, and I really cannot wait to see how these teams will do it. As much as there's only one of each map, it will mean that whatever you learn today, you would have to apply it tomorrow. It's not like before where we would have, or it's not like the longer ones where we'd have 2 of each map, and then you can make mistakes in the first one but not repeat it in the second one. But ultimately, these guys get Erangel twice, so they should be able to work with whatever they get there on the second Erangel. So I look forward to seeing a better last Erangel than the first Erangel, especially from some of these teams.
Well, let's hope. Let's hope. Speaking about the teams, of course, as we know, this is PMCO, so the teams have actually already fought their way through quite a few matches, quite a few processes to get themselves to this point, right? We've seen them start all the way within the open qualifiers, the end-game ones, after which they moved into group stage, after which they moved into brackets, after the brackets. The top teams from those brackets made it right here in towards the last chance qualifiers, aside from a few teams that have already qualified into the grand finals. So I think the point of what we are looking at here, right, the last chance, is going to be for those final few teams to be slotted in to join the teams that we already have in the grand final. So there is going to be a little bit of pressure on their shoulders, right? And I'm excited to see exactly how these teams are going to be looking to meet that challenge.
Yep, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see how these teams play, given that they've gone through so many stages already before getting here. So I'd like to see where that mental fortitude is, where all that experience gained is, because some of these teams that are playing here today, I believe 8 of these teams were in the upper brackets, which means they've played against the more experienced teams, like the ones that are already in the finals. Is why I'm calling them the more experienced teams. So they've gone up against tougher opponents, and then people from the lower bracket are now meeting with this bottom 8 to battle it out. So I'd like to see where that domination would be. Try to see if those teams will be able to play against that haven't played so many games before coming into this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking at the amount of matches that they played, and it comes down to quite a few. I mean, it is a tremendous amount of matches to get yourself not only qualified, but also just up to the stage. But I think the good thing at least is, the map rotation that they've been playing through all those previous stages was exactly what we have right now, right? Erangel, Miramar, Sanhok, Erangel. So they've had the opportunity to really acclimatize themselves to what the rotation is going to be bringing through. But now I want to see how they are going to be looking to not only adapt to whatever the opposing teams are going to be bringing in, but also just how they in general read what the flight path and the zone is going to be presenting to them.
Yep, because flight path and zone would play a huge role in how you're going to perform going into the rest of the days. But not just that. These teams, some of them are used to themselves, some aren't used to themselves, which means when we're starting to talk about drop locations, there might be a few clashes here and there. So, I'm hoping to see a lot of split landings coming through in the first couple of games, at least for today. See a couple of split landings coming through from teams, because that way, you're not deep diving into like a hot drops, but we all know it's inevitable for you to take an L drop. You always have to take that fight.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious to find out, right? We don't have much information on these teams and, what they could potentially be looking to bring on forward. If you had to choose a random team, right? I'm pretty sure you're going to go for Big Baby, as you said, they've got an interesting name, and that might be the team that you're going to be supporting. Are you going to stick to that, or was it just looking at the names?
Side eye. Right now, it's still looking at the names. I'm someone who I feel like, if you don't know, I really like the big brain plays. So I'm going to be keeping my eye out to see which one of those teams would be doing that. And I think the team that would be showing me a lot of tactical thinking and a lot of proactivity going into the games, that would be the team that I'll be supporting. So right now, I'm just going by the name of Big Baby. When we get into the games, we'll start to see which teams would actually tickle my fancy.
Well, I think that leads kind of be to my next question, though, right? What would you say would be your determining factor as to it for a team to lock in that slot moving through into the grand finals? What would you say from your part is required to achieve that?
High fracking prowess, really. The placement points that we already have, 10 points for first place is good, but there's teams that will be fighting and gunning for that first place position. But one thing I would really want to see is the team giving aggressive prowess, because if you're out here able to frag, take those fights and win, the placement points might not even be too necessary. You might be able to make it up with just the elimination points, well, with as much elimination points,
Well, I mean, let's see whether or not that is going to potentially be the approach that these teams will be trying to adopt as we make our way through. Of course, the flight path is going to be starting up at shooting range, heading all the way down to Primorsk. Now, Crowds, we've watched many of these flight paths, right? We've seen many a zone come through. I've got a sneaky suspicion the zone is going to go one of two ways. I think maybe down on towards that southern side. If not, it's going to be complementary to the flight path itself.
Well, I would really want to see one that goes all the way towards that eastern side, all towards the right, maybe like a Yasnaya zone. But to be honest, this playing part isn't the nicest. At least I would say it's not the nicest, given that there isn't too many options in terms of places to land. Severny is a place to land, but it's empty. Yasnaya is also another place that, one would want to land, but it's also empty. You can't even get there unless you find a vehicle. So it's going to be very tricky. Only a couple spaces to land, like in the quarry, the hospital, South Georgia
Ooh.
or even Pochinki or the military island. Those are the places to land. And yep, Crowns is the zone whisperer, bro.
Sure, Mr. Zone Whisperer. I'm pretty sure the teams are going to be quite grateful for the zone not shifting down towards that southern edge. We can see a few already, anticipating that potentially to be the case. But now it's going to be TPS and the players here from God's Ultimate looking to get into a little bit of a play, as TPS already lost their first participant down to a 3-piece. But getting into a fight this early on, this is, I think, a good strategy, right? Because your opponent necessarily doesn't have anything to defend their honor with. Well, you also kind of don't, but it's all about the showdown. And Vama coming through with a Mosin hit.
We don't really see that run in action, but that was a very sweet snipe coming through, especially in close range quarters. That is actually interesting to see. And the players there from the Gods, we can already see them getting started. Gods Ultimate actually getting started. 2 eliminations up, and that is a huge confidence booster going into the rest of the games.
Wow, alright, the nice showing of the aggression being brought through here. But now we still got to see where the rest of our teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated. And of course, speaking about our teams, right, as we can see, it is still quite a bit of a way to go. I mean, Epsilon Axe also coming through with a bit of a push as they are looking to get themselves situated further and further up into center zone. I think that kind of decision would be a good play, right? Trying to secure your foothold, maybe set down, a little bit of a perimeter. Put up the gutter rails and then they go, cool. If anyone gets over those, then we know they mean business.
Yep. At least we know for one, Gatka now is occupied by this idea of God's Ultimate, so we don't be seeing too much stress. The side there of Imperial Family looking to go towards that military island / Novo. I really want to see where this whole drive is going to, but I would guess that they're one of those teams that would be going for later rotations as compared to some of the teams who would like to rotate quite early in this game. And we all know we've seen pro teams actually decide to go for later rotations, so this is not something that we're going to frown on. It's something that we kind of encourage so far. The teams are able to play it just well.
Well, let's see who is going to look to take this party to the next level. In the meanwhile, ooh, here we have it. It is going to be a little bit of that play now onto Kazama here. Oof, but a very, very isolated position being held. I mean, Epsilon Axe. Ooh. You got to commend the effort here by Tornado, but unfortunately, right, the storm was already there and not much that they can do to weather that. I want to see what the rest of the squad is going to be doing, though, from Epsilon Axe. I mean, we've got them situated down in towards Malta, but it seems their scout is down.
It's quite interesting to see that it went out this early, really, given that it did look like they already made it all the way to Muta. So I'd have expected to see the whole team be in Muta as compared to going for a split loot, because Muta is big enough for a whole team. So I wouldn't be expecting to see this very long splits coming through from the teams. But now it's beating them in the butt, and well, just one player for the time being. I think they should be fine to survive for the rest of the game. But man, Team TPS Esports, I really can't feel bad for them because it wasn't really their fault. They tried to land in Gatka, but that playing path not giving too many options. Now they have to settle for hospital, which for weird reason is actually free.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if there's a lot of meds in the hospital as well. I mean, that would be a nice one to go. We do see Rogo coming through with our very first elimination award there. But now comes the challenging part, especially for the team situated over on towards that western front. I mean, Brave, they're going to have to come through with a bit of rotation. We've got Rush as well as TPS, as you pointed out. And they are in very close proximity, held in towards that southern George positioning. So there's going to be a little bit of pressure being applied here for teams trying to find a good approach, a good play, a good strat to get in. But speaking of which, we are going to be jumping straight over on towards Firestorm.
think this is another name that I liked, or Firestorm. It kind of feels good. I mean, they're out there driving in. That's one of the exotic vehicles. Love to see that one, and I really love to see what they've got to do. So we're seeing Firestorm be one of those teams who are looking to get their rotation started up quite early. We're seeing them drive towards that school area, and hey, they're my boys, the big baby in the lobby here. They did choose to land in Primorsk area of the map. I don't know how I feel about that, but seeing that they're not moving yet, I would say they're one of those teams that would also want to, emphasize on those late rotations. But really, baby, you people really need to live up to my expectations or to my wants.
Sure. We'll go with that one. I mean, first up, they're going to have to get themselves out of the blue, as they have quite a bit of a push to make to get themselves properly secured. Meanwhile, as we jump over onto towards Rozhok, this is where we've got Team Alpi, right, going about their business, and I think we could potentially see them, again, opting for a little bit more of a centralized positioning. And it's interesting here, Grounds, to see how the teams are playing these games a little bit differently in comparison to what we've seen come through, in the PMPLs, for instance.
Yeah, to be honest, it almost feels like these teams know each other, to an extent, because I would have expected, more chaos or a little bit of randomness coming through from the early phases of the game. But right now, we've seen scrappy fights here and there, but in as much as we've been seeing scrappy fights, we've still not lost the full team. We're just seeing knocks here and there, everyone's getting the revives. And to be honest, I think it plays well for the teams. Now going into the next Erangel games and even future Erangel games, now know where to be, where not to be, where to expect teams, and where not to expect teams, and we know how much information plays in the game of Portugal.
Yeah, and as we know, these teams have really shown quite a bit of their prowess when it comes to playing on Erangel. So I want to see how those strats are now going to be utilized up against opposing teams who they may or may not have seen before, as we know, coming through those, the group stages, coming through the bracket section as well. So a lot of potential information could have been gathered about the opposing teams and how those rotations pan out. But surprisingly enough, we actually still have quite a few teams all the way out in the blue. And I want to see who's going to dare venture up in towards that more northeastern side of the zone.
Yeah, really, we already said it from the beginning. Severny was free, which is interesting, to even start with. And now, the rotations are about to get started. And I'm the zone whisperer. If anyone wants to know where the next zone is, just come call crowns. But that we're already seeing that zone shift already come through, going all the way to Yasnaya Poyana. One thing that is surprising is I would say maybe because the teams are still looting, but usually I'd expect to see teams go for that early center zone position, especially like the beginning of the game. He knows how to drive. Give it to him.
Yeah.
He survived.
Yeah,
the airbags are still in.
Marley's showing us exactly how to utilize the vehicles up on the map. And meanwhile, we are going to be taking a look at T-Pairs. Also, surprisingly, taking a very, very spread approach. I mean, they are down to only 2 players, so they're going to have to keep a little bit of that power in numbers play coming forward. Aka, not quite sure whether or not they are going to be able to survive this. Blue, fortunately, it's only the second phase, Blue, so it's not going to be too devastating. But this is a relatively tough position now for Vengeance to try and hold on. Already coming through with a bit of a lead with regards to those eliminations.
Yep, getting themselves 2 eliminations up on board. We saw them take scrappy fights out in the open against God's Ultimate. And, well, they're doing it. Another elimination going there, coming through from the blue zone. Getting that complete thirst for them. And that is such a nice play to see. And, yep, now I'm starting to see teams head towards the center of the circle like I expected to happen in the first zone.
Ooh. Yeah, well, they need to avoid this blue little bit of aggression coming through here. I mean, they still have quite a long way to go, so I think we could be looking at a little bit of a drive-by showdown as T-Pairs are going to be trying to just sneak their way through the hardcover presented here by Pachinki. But again, not the easiest rotation, right? We got Vengeance on the one side. We did see the players from Avoid holding towards that southern edge, but up in center zone, I think this is where things are also going to be looking to get taken to that next level, right? We got Kazam in there, of course, Firestorm very, very close to them, so this does pose an interesting play, though, for both teams.
Yep. We'll see how much they can cohabit, that center of the circle. The building being held by Firestorm is one that can be easily breached, especially from the top of those little hills that are up there. So I'd expect to see a little split coming through from Firestorm on here, as compared to all of them just being in the compounds. Currently looking at that TPS rotation. I don't know how they've pulled it off, but they went through Pochinki. We don't see that one too often. But I guess that's what makes this team new. These are things that we don't see out there in the, higher levels. But right now, them doing it here almost makes me feel like, is this something they can actually pull off when they go into like those higher stages? Or is it something that, they can only get away with because of, they're really in the PMCO?
Ooh, that's a good question. It'd be interesting to see what the answer to that could be. But while we await any potential responses, maybe who knows, we might only find out the answer to that much later on. We are going to be looking at the players here from Rush now, setting up a bit of a gatekeep, as we do have Brave just on the opposing edge. Is it a Chomi? Chomi, I guess that's probably. Yeah, Komi, Chomi, whichever one. It's Brave, right? It's tough spelling there for DK to try and pronounce, but I mean, Epsilon Axe, they are just swinging it through as they do secure their first elimination all the way down on towards the southern side. And looking at their rotational pathway, I mean, it's not going to be the toughest one to get themselves situated into this next zone.
Yeah, not at all. They got quite an open field available for them on that southern edge. Not too much cover to work with, but they pull it off. I'm very happy to see that there's no team currently fully committing to Yasnaya Poliana. It is a mistake that would usually see most of the tiny teams committing to that city quite early, and then it becomes troublesome when they have to leave Yasnaya Poliana, provided that zone does move. There is an alarming amount of teams in the blue zone. It's very, very surprising. I would really like to see teams play within the circle as compared to playing outside the circle. But first game of the day, give them the benefit.
Yeah, I mean, it's the litmus day, the litmus match. The teams are just trying to get a good assessment as to what is going to be going down here. T-Bears now just looking to secure themselves on towards that southern side. I think this could be a really good kind of foothold for them to take occupation of, right? Sets them up potentially of what this next zone might be bringing, but Epsilon Axe not going to be having a bad run here as they push straight on forward, managing to get themselves that knock over on towards the Vito. But now it's up to Adesy, Inadesy, whatever. There we go with the name, trying to raise the teammate back up as the numbers are slowly starting to dwindle.
I'm enjoying the split actually. It's a very interesting split coming through from Team Avoid. There are two players in that deep and the remaining player from their team holding up in the compound. See if they can do a little bit of an overwatch. Epsilon Axe does look to have a very huge interest in this deep here as we start to see more grenades coming through. I believe it is destined for them. You see ENA being the insignia there. Furia looking for a couple of shots, not quite able to find it just yet. And DK, I have to say, 13 teams still alive. It is very impressive. We've not lost any team so far.
Yeah, we've not lost a single team. There's been quite a bit of carnage across the board. I think we might have one of the players there from God's Ultimate potentially taking a bit of a knee, as we can see them all the way to that far left-hand side, just on the edge of Everest. I don't necessarily see them making that rotation back securely up in towards the zone, but in the meanwhile, ooh, it is going to be a Void applying a little bit of that pressure now onto the side of Kazama, but both teams in contention for possession of the edge of zone.
Yep. And to be honest, it almost feels like Jackpot has been hit by this idea of Team Void as they've got this very magical deep. Everyone on the south wants it. If you're not in this deep, you would want to be on the open fields, but Kazama able to find that off angle as Pretty finds the first knock. Desti behind the buggy. It's only a matter of time before they get spotted over there. And Epsilon is still somewhere in the background. I want to see a full set coming through from Team Kazuma because, they already have enough that they can just full send and take out the remaining players there.
Yeah, I mean, great opportunity here for Kazama to follow through and get in the clutch onto the side of a Void. I gotta say, though, I mean, Epsilon Axe, you've said it, right? We see them just on the back end there, but also, again, a great opportunity to apply a little bit of that needed pressure as we do see Preeti now pulling right up onto the doorstep. But this is going to be down to the nade. Will this be the end for a Void? That bounce, ooh, not going exactly where they would have hoped, but one down or one more to go.
that compensates for it. You know, that other nade never happened. You know, that the first one hit, and that's all that matters. But anyway, yet another knock coming in through, and the grenades are excellent from Team Kazuma to get yet another knock in that deep. And Team Avoid now finding themselves in a whole lot of trouble as the Thursdays look to be coming through. And I'm interested in seeing why Destiny in crawling up, maybe to gather a little bit more information. But that is going to be deep gone for this idea of Team Avoid.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, right? You're going to see teams dropping at some point, but we do say goodbye to God Ultimate now. Ooh, it's going to be the Imperials family also trying to defend their honor over on the edge. They've been quite quiet. We haven't seen all that much come through from them just yet, but Kazama, Teddy, whoa, looking to light it up.
Man, he used all the mark there on that DP28. It's like you're not living here under no circumstance, and that is a good play. Making sure that the remaining teams are staying handicapped is just something that we enjoy to see. Team Avoid losing their last player there in Guy Pass, and that'll be a GG well played. But Team Kazuma, they've got so much fights happening around them, and they're out here just trying to tap away some of those eliminations that are just going up on that eastern front. They have so much control over the south to the southeast, and I would like to see how well they can control this edge.
Well, Kazama definitely building up quite a bit of momentum. It is going to be Brave also now looking to get a little bit cheeky as they come pushing through onto the Imperials. But now, Kazama still pushing in from the back end. A very aggressive approach. They have all 4 players up. They are kind of now sharing that lead with vengeance with regards to eliminations as we do say goodbye to Epsilon Axe. It's going to be an end of the run for them. But with that, down to our final 10 teams. It's still Brave, a good position over on towards this edge of zone.
Yep, and actually Brave are actually holding this position quite well. 2 eliminations already up to their name, and they seem to have this confidence in this position they're holding. They have the smokes, they're all together in one position. It's definitely not ideal to go for a split. I can tell that they have information as the position being held by DXAFG, as we use the Imperial family, but it's a very strong position out there that is by Akomi Brave.
Yeah, Akomi, let's see whether or not they are going to be able to accomplish winner chicken dinner. Also DX that we have off in the distance there, right? DX AFG. They've also been playing a very quiet match so far, right? We haven't seen all that much come through from them just yet, so hoping to have a bit of an opportunity to see exactly what their play and approach is going to be coming into the remainder of this match. Meanwhile, as you can see, Kazama, they are now very well situated for eliminations, for players, and they have a little bit of free reign over towards that southern edge of the zone.
Yep. Southern edge zone is free for them to take, and also that position being held by TPS. I feel like TPS might be looking to be hanging on the slim thread now. There's a couple of teams that are looking to eye their position. Rampage picks out a little too much, but the Raikage actually is able to get that knock onto the side of DX, and the full send does look to be coming through as Team Rush living up to the name, making sure that they are doing in the work as the full send does come through. Another knock is there. That is wonderful. As we see the full send, it's still coming through. 2 players down for DX. Assume does look to coming through. The runover is there to find the third, and it's just Morris left to hold down the force for DX AFG, and this is such a nice move coming in through from Shum. DBS in the hands wins all the time as the Rush team get themselves 4 eliminations up on board.
Shum goes boom, and that is it. Beautiful, beautiful rush coming through on their end. But now, right, we still got to see what the rest of the teams are going to be looking to do as the Zorn does take yet another shift, moving further down into towards that southwestern side. Chomi Brave going to be looking to clear out the eastern approach. They got to watch out for Rush, because Rush, as you said, right, holding true to their name. Out comes the play, the push is in, and ooh, Raikachi comes through with a beautiful hit. Let's see whether or not Marley can defend. No, instead we'll have a few bouncing vehicles, as it's now down to Citizen to just play for the honor of their team.
Uh-oh. The runover is not quite there, but Rush, you just have to admire that strength coming in through from Tiboka, as they're able to make it up with at least 1, or make that at least 2. The Reeves, I'm not sure if that is going to be possible, but right now they've been able to survive that, and I've enjoyed the way Kazuma has taken their fight so far. That one against Komi Brave was a little bit sloppy, but they still made it work, and they'll be able to grab that revive on for 1 more member of their player, provided they want to, or they decide.
Sure.
But hey,
Yes.
Yeah, they should probably get the revive.
Ooh, we do say goodbye to Vengeance as well as they go out in 7th place. 3 Elims. Up comes the rescue. As we do see Rush now is just trying to get themselves situated back into a little bit of safety. Of course, Firestorm, right, still holding on here to a very good position, especially over on towards that eastern side, as we know. Alamo, decent spot. There has been fought over quite a bit that we've seen over into the, into the professional scene. But, I mean, big baby grounds, they're still going to be holding over on towards the western edge.
Yep. They're on the West. 2 eliminations to their name for the time being. I see them, they've been doing a little bit of a long range engagement all through the map. Right now, if that zone does push away from their position, it becomes a little bit tricky. And yeah, as I said it earlier, the Team T-Pest there, it's only a matter of time before their position now becomes the POI in the zone and everyone would want to take it, because that is all like the only compound that is left in the zone. It's just open fields and high grounds that are left for every other person to take. So here's where Team T-Pest would have to hold on the defense, and with only 2 players left alive, it's going to be a very hard defense to pull off.
Yeah, it is going to be a very hairy approach indeed now. Let's see whether or not Rush can maybe get that push to get themselves exactly where they want to go. LP also going to be trying to just encroach a little bit further towards that zone, as they do show off with a little bit of those vehicle skills along the way. Big baby now. A golden setup up on the high ground. Beautiful reach so they could get down onto the rest of the lobby. But Rush, I mean, they're going to have to find that approach, right? They're going to have to secure their foothold coming into this phase.
Yeah, 2 players left. Yeah, I'd say to lay their heads low, but you can tell that at this point they're just looking for as many eliminations as they can. 2 players all split across. We see Tipoca holding his own position, and Shroom also on another position there. So it starts to get quite tricky. There's only so many places you can play in this zone, and I'm looking at Big Baby. They have to make the most of that high ground that they hold before they try to make it into that circle, and make the most would mean taking out as many players as possible, so every breach that they embark on would be easier to take.
Well, Klaus with a beautiful reach for that Scar Owl, just poking and prodding into the side of not only Big Baby, but T-Pest as well. And, well, it's going to be the end for T-Pest, as Big Baby does get the upper hand, but they've also been dealt quite a few blows. I mean, Rush, you did see them also just lurking over on towards that western side of Zoran. There's a great opportunity for a bit of an upset to be played. But speaking about upsets, here we go straight into Kazama versus the Firestorm squad, as both teams find themselves now in quite a bit of a showdown.
As much as the smokes were there, it just was not enough as the grenades start to land. The damage is being done. Rolex, the last player left. The grenade is being sent towards their position, but Rolex actually does fall. And now they will be left with Dennis, who also does take the fall out there in the compound. And 7 eliminations already up to Kazuma. They are looking to have a fun time here in the lobby as they still retain all 4 players alive.
I mean, and with that, we are down to our final 4 remaining teams. And, I mean, it's quite surprising looking at how these teams take their pacing, right? Very quiet in the early game. Also, even during that mid-game. But as we approach the end game, they just step it up, letting loose quite a bit of aggression. And Kazama, of course, being one of those teams that aren't shy to take the opportunity. Now, being dealt with a bit of a challenging position, right? Just over towards the edge of Zoran. They do have free reign on the eastern front, but I'm curious to see what's going to come through on this western edge, as, I mean, Big Baby, they have essentially one of the only pieces of hard cover.
Yeah, but then sadly, it's you have the cover, but there is not too much they can do from here on out, right? I wouldn't blame them. I mean, there's 4 teams alive. That zone does still look, that circle still looks quite big, and that is beautiful shots coming through from Dennis to find 1 knock, and that is information gathered because you already know there is 1 team on that eastern front of the circle. The zone does push away from Big Baby, so we'll start to look for proactive plays that will come through from them. I'm pretty sure they'll be looking for yet another knock onto the side there of Team Kazama actually, and if they get that knock, they will be going for the full send as Team Alpi starts their rotation.
Well, Moxito now taking us forward as we do get ready for a bit of a play now. Onto the side of Kazama. Ooh, they up to Pretty. Pretty comes through with the DBS, trying to uphold a little bit of honor. Klaus also trying to clutch up from the edge. But M2 for 9 in hand.
Oh!
Moxito is going to wrap up that party real quick fast as we are down to only 3. I mean, Rush, right? They are sitting on 9 eliminations, but they are down to only 1 remaining participant. And now it's our remaining teams, right, to settle. Who's going to be walking away with that winner chicken dinner?
That is the question we've got in mind. Is Big Baby up against the Alpi? It's a 4v4, all in the open ground. Big Baby having to play with the airdrops. There's a couple of smokes that are already out by Big Baby as Bego 74 just right behind that rock. Just take a couple tick damage there from the grenade. As Baban looking for the damage for Big Baby now, pushing up with the prowess. We're starting to see shots come through. 7 eliminations for the side there of Team Alpi. And Babani would fall behind that airdrop, evening the tides, or actually turning the tides, putting the side there of Alpi on an advantage.
Ooh, this could be exciting. This could be exciting. LP now trying to rush on forward, trying to get the sprays. They do find overlaid as Big Baby gets a bit of a hit dealt into them. Now it's up to Ramon holding steady, trying to just make the most out of the hard cover. But unfortunately, there's not going to be a lot of opportunity. The plays are there, and Moxito and the rest of LP step up to close off that play. What an approach!
What an approach really by Team Alpi. They started off so slowly, but then they ended up racking up the damage going into the final phases of the circle. Talk about a play, talk about a push. I like the fact that in that final game or that final engagement, they were able to find themselves the advantage. 1 grenade to find the knock behind the airdrop. They knew where the players were, worked with that information, used the vehicles, and it played out so well for them, Team Alpi, at the end as they got themselves 21 points up on board.
Oh, that is lovely. A beautiful 11 eliminations to go along with that. Of course, Rush also doing quite a bit of hard work, right? But as we saw coming into those later few stages, right, they were reduced down to only 1 player, and that does bring quite a bit of a challenge with it. But still, finishing in 3rd place, not a bad ending. Big Baby also coming through with those double digits. Gotta love the approach here, but Kazama, right, showing a lot of aggression as we had over on towards that eastern side of the zone. So I'm curious to see how they are going to translate all of that aggression alongside LP when we get to a map like Sanhok.
Yep, and they've already started the day so well. That is the kind of momentum that you want to start the game with, you know, getting yourself 9 eliminations up on board. They did lose players towards the ending of the game, but still we're going to give them, they're able to get themselves 2 points up on board. Oh, sorry, you know, 2nd place overall, which is good to see. A couple of these teams on the bottom of the board, I'm not going to beat them up just yet, you know, it's still the first game of the day, nothing too serious, you know, there's still time to improve.
I mean, we only had 2 teams that weren't able to secure themselves any eliminations, as we saw there. So it's not the worst run, right? I mean, this is the first match right here for the last chance. The teams have a great opportunity to prove themselves. But of course, next up, we are going to be heading into Miramar. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you right back after the break.
Bring the band in. Woo! Well, alright. Yeah, they want me to fit in, but I can't. I'm too different with it. Too advanced to think. You know my intuition. I got bars and ink, but never in a prison. Too far gone, never gonna sit and listen. This is optimism mixed with the best. You get it? You're seeing there's a beast in the flesh. I'm vetted up. I don't need to try to speak for the rest. Always keep it abrupt. They wanna keep it a mess, you know. This is what you get when you're sitting as a vet. But everybody know that you're a threat. With the rest, let's go. We won't fit in your box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Ride us all to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box. No, we don't quit, we won't stop. No, ride us all to the top. Whoa. We won't fit in your box. No. Look, I try to tell you we don't fit in your box. Why you try to box me and I got the key to unlock? I know the locksmith, optics, speak of the loss. I'm eating lobster, chopsticks, freaking the boss. You know, I'll never fit in where I go at. Ooh, boss talk like I'm Boaz. Ooh, why fit in when you know you can stand out still? They remember you more when you hand out deals. Let's go. We won't fit in your box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Ride us all to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box. No, we don't quit, we won't stop. No, ride us all to the top. Whoa. We won't fit in your box. No, don't box me in. I do my own thing. Spirit is right within. I got my own way. Violent is not within. Look at the way that I do my ops again. Oh, better let me loose. You know that I got the juice. Everything I got to do. Words that I speak out my mouth, I gotta move. Oh, can't fit in your box. You're too cold to get low. We won't fit in your box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Ride us all to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box. No, we don't quit, we won't stop. No, ride us all to the top. Whoa. We won't fit in your box. No. Thank you, Bill, for coming out tonight. My name is Son of Augustine. Let's go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're getting ready to move into our second match of the day, and already we've seen quite a bit of a bit of an update, right, happening in our last match here. I mean, very aggressive start to the day. We did see Kazama. We had the players from Firestorm trying to make it up into those last few stages. Unfortunately, falling a little bit short there, but I mean, such an aggressive push coming through on towards Erangel. And I think, Corans, now the big question is going to be, how is all of that play going to translate into a slightly larger playable area over on towards Miramar?
Yeah, especially given the fact that there's only 13 teams in the lobby, I would hope to see much more space being played. And seeing that these teams were able to survive that much or for that long in Erangel, I'll be expected to see a very tough later phase of the game here in Miramar. We do know Miramar being that map to be kind of quiet at the beginning phases, and then, you know, at the end, we start to see more of that action. So that is what I'm expecting going into this next map of the day.
Well, it is going to be interesting indeed to see where exactly our teams are going to find themselves situated and who's going to be the ones to rise up and potentially come through with a bit of a big major upset, right? Miramar always an interesting one, as the terrain, depending on where we are on the map, does present its own challenges as opposed to, you know, what we have on Erangel, for instance. But of course, as we can see, Team LP coming through with a beautiful clutch in that previous match. 21 points. That is going to be the score to chase, the score to beat, at least for now. Now, Krause, do you think we are going to be seeing LP potentially going at it yet again?
I think they can do it. I like the way they played last game, and this was what I spoke about at the beginning of the broadcast. That I want to see those teams that are able to apply those big brain plays or a little bit of brain play, just to see that there's a little bit of tactics that's coming in through, and that's what Team Alpi were able to do in that last game. They held onto the center for quite a long time, gathered as much information as possible, and when we started heading into that phase 6, phase 7, they started to do the damage, started to do the work, get the numbers up. So that is a beautiful play that I saw coming through from them. So I think they've got it in check for here in Miramar,
Mm.
provided they don't get a hot drop.
Yeah. Well, let's see who is. Ooh, okay. All
Oh.
right. There we go. Beautiful zone over towards that eastern side. It's not often that we see Al Azhar being close to center. I mean, this is going to be a very, very interesting shift, and already we have so many teams on those outlying areas. I mean, TPS as well as DXAFG, our only two teams currently situated within the zone. But I'm looking up into regions like Picado, for instance, right? That is an absolute hot mess coming through.
It is a very hot mess. We have this idea of God's ultimate. We have this idea of vengeance also in that position. And there's one more team that I can't quite put my finger on. Who is it? Is it Firestorm? I just know there's three teams out here in Picado, and
Ooh,
if you
it
know
is.
Picado well, you know that Picado is not a place that can accommodate three teams, at least not even in
Mm.
terms of equal spawns.
I mean, at least they're in the right place, right? Because playing in Picado is a bit of a gamble. So, we got the casino right there. So, a great opportunity for these teams to see if they can beat the odds. But, of course, we don't know in whose favor the odds are leaning. In the meanwhile, we got Marin now just having a nice little bit of Overwatch. I'm curious as to how they actually got up onto there because I've tried many a times, right? Maybe they just have a secret approach to get themselves up on that. In the meanwhile, I think God's ultimate. This is a great opportunity for them to maybe show us what their approach is coming through because, as we know, they had a bit of a tough run over on Erangel.
Yep. And maybe they might just be able to stand up to the challenge, but a hot drop, I don't think that is the way to go about it. And it's not just a hot drop in any other city. It's a hot drop in Picado. It's not nice at all. If I thought they win the fight, they might not have enough vehicles. They might not make it out with enough players. So it gets very, very tricky out there. But Team Alpi, we spoke about a hot drop being one thing that is standing in their way, and it looks like Avoid, not quite well, actually Avoid being that team to stand in the parade there of Team Alpi as Team Alpi lose two players and now.
Ooh. Well, ooh. All right, Big O coming through with a little bit of a defensive play there, as we've already lost two participants coming through from the side of Team LP. I mean, getting that winner chicken dinner this time around is going to prove to be a little bit more challenging, right? Only two players up, that does change the dynamic, but a great opportunity now for Void to maybe try and follow through, look if they can get that clutch play to come in. Great start already, 2 eliminations up. But I think this could be a golden opportunity for Void also now to add their first few points on the board as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of shots coming through from Bego, and to be honest, it's almost seeming like overextending as another knock does come through onto the side there of Team Boy, but they do not have the numbers advantage. It's very interesting to see how well, Bego is able to spray up towards the hill, given that, there is no, sight on that M416. It's just the iron sight, but to be honest, I see Team LP just fall back from this fight. There's no point trying to take this fight anymore. Avoid has the numbers, and they might just be able to overwhelm them with that number.
Well, let's see whether or not they are going to be able to utilize the spread. So far, we actually have Fan looking to get themselves fanned out a little bit more in response to what Avoid has been bringing to the table here, but a good position coming through here from Fan. Now looking to rip it up with that AKM. Avoid quickly trying to just get themselves into a little bit of that cover. And this is a good position, especially now for the side of Avoid, because they have that extra bit of coverage now to try and utilize and work with to oppose the response coming through from LP.
Chasing them out of the Chumasera area, holding on the church, that is a very strong position. Team Alpi now doing what I expected them to have done a long time ago, fall back from that fight. There really is no point trying to fight against the full squad. I know how painful it is to lose players, but they just need to tear a book out of Team TPS's strat from the first game where they were able to survive with 2 players towards the end of the game. And they were able to get themselves, decent placement points up on board. Still a couple of elims also while at it. So, it's a good place to leave that fight. Try to see what else you can do, play for the late game.
Well, let's see whether or not they are indeed going to be able to get themselves into that late game. Meanwhile, it's going to be Rolex and Dennis now having to watch the stairs. But are they going to be able to time these hits to perfection? Not quite sure. I mean, still we want to see what exactly God's Ultimate can bring to the table. But I like this aggressive push coming through, right? They've got a slight bit of a positional advantage here. While we are still waiting for the remainder of Firestorm, maybe try and just close up this gap.
And I like the proactivity coming through from God's Ultimate, realizing that they have to push into this compound or into this building, try to free up a little bit of space. It's easier to push these buildings, or push to these buildings than to push towards the big, should I call it the warehouse or the big, not the casino, but the big building out there, the main building in Picado. It's quite harder to cross into that building, but over here you can push into the building, but then getting to get those elims is where it becomes hard because we know how tricky the apartment building here can get.
Ooh, God's Ultimate taking a very interesting approach. Look at Blue coming through with a bit of a bounce. Oh, the follow through is there, and Blue succeeds. Quick retreat, down goes Rolex, and that is both participants here from Firestorm getting snuffed out. Now it's up to Venom to see whether or not they can potentially hold on strong. But you can see it's Venom and their teammate, old John, over in the distance there. And again, right, God's Ultimate coming through with quite a bit of a swing. And I love to see how they're going to be able to carry this momentum moving forward.
Yeah, that was a very excellent push coming through from God's Ultimate. I really have to admit that one. It wasn't something that I saw coming through. And this is a nice play coming through from Vengeance. This is what I want to see. Make use of that distraction. There's a team in there. They're taking another fight. Picado doesn't have as much vehicle spawns. The zone is coming. Get into the next vehicle as they fight it off. So because they're distracted and get out of dodge, which is very nice. And this is what I was talking about earlier on. Because now the only team who seem to get themselves EMs most likely don't have a vehicle to rotate out of Picado.
Yeah, and that's a great opportunity now for Vengeance to set up a bit of a gatekeep and maybe return a little bit of the fame as we see the zone leaning even further over on towards the eastern edge. I mean, about what, like 45% of the map is playable, maybe even more. Well, maybe less. I think like 60%, because also take into consideration over on that eastern side, we've got the cliffs as well, right? Which you can't exactly climb up onto. So this is going to be quite the limiting factor coming through for these teams as they have such little space to work with. But in the meanwhile, we still have quite a few outlying teams that still need to find their way in towards that next phase.
We predicted, or I predicted, that this game was going to be one where the teams would have a lot of space, so we're not going to see too much early engagement, But the zone goes, no, that is not what is going to happen. There's water, there's unplayable lands, there's cliffs. It's almost forcing all these teams to go up against themselves as soon as they try to get into that circle. It's going to be very tricky from here on out. I want to see how much chaos is going to erupt in this game.
Ooh, well, by the look of it, I think it is going to come in by the bucket loads, as we did see TPS also now getting taken down to only a 2P. So several teams now having to work their way through with a few duos. But up comes Big Baby. Are they going to be able to claw their way through, get themselves right into a contentious position? And of course, taking that southern approach, that could allow for quite a bit of an opportunity, but they're still going to have to watch out the high grounds, because as you can see here, grounds, I mean, Kazama, they are starting to move in again, and this is going to be a, a very tough spot to contest.
Because I'm not holding on the high grounds close to the shorelines. I see this idea of Big Baby looking to hold a little bit of the shorelines too, but I really do not advise the shoreline position being held by Big Baby there. Kazama's position I'm fine with, but as for Big Baby, I'm a little bit skeptical. We'll see how well they're able to play with the rough ground and the terrains that they have on this part of the map, but there isn't even so many good places to play. Everywhere is a point of interest. You'd have to contest another team in order to be able to hold that position comfortably, and it's going to get very, very tricky. We still have all squads still alive, so right now I just really can't wait. I really can't wait to see all of these teams make it into that circle.
I'm curious as to what the Imperials family squad are going to be doing. They've got a nice setup coming through to that northern side, right? They've already been able to get Grodex situated up into the zone. So I want to see whether or not they could look to, capitalize on a bit of an opportunity. Meanwhile, DX, we are also yet to see exactly what they are going to be bringing through, as they were able to secure their first points in this match, right? Those 2 eliminations. But are they going to be able to cram even more in there, as, well, they find themselves in a very, very tough spot. And of course, the zone is just going to continue with this slightly absurd trend.
I have a feeling this one might just decide to go for a southern zone shift after this one. Go take us into the water, because right now it's almost becoming unplayable. CPS though, going for good positions there in the circle, knowing I like the position they've opted for, knowing well that there will most likely not be another team coming through from behind them. So it's a very nice position being held by them. They're just a little bit on the, the right-hand side that we just cannot see there, as we finally lose the first team in the lobby. It's going to be decided on Firestorm.
It is unfortunate, but the heat is also going to be boiling over, as we see Big Baby taking quite a bit of a blow to their play account. Now up to Vengeance, trying to, well, have a bit of an angle onto avoid. Now the one thing that we can say about the zone, seeing that it is shifted up so aggressively and Rogo takes himself down, of course, is that it is going to be an absolute hornet's nest as we proceed further and further through these phases. But we're also going to be seeing the numbers of teams and players taking a considerable drop, seeing that everyone is so close to each other.
Everyone is so close to each other. You can't even play the center of the circle, because that is completely open fields, right? If you try to go in your shooting practice, right now it is so chaotic. A lot of chaos about to erupt on that southwestern edge, as we see Team Vengeance watching those rotations coming in through. But Akomi Brave has got such a nice gatekeeping position on the shorelines. I would like to see them start taking shots towards the teams as they start to make that rotate, and that is it that we see over there. That southwestern side, so much teams that are trying to get in from there, and Akomi Brave, if they made their card right, they might just be able to play this one as a full send comes through. It's my boy sending it into the building. Shotguns in the hand, definitely not enough, as Epsilon holds that defense very nicely, but Akomi Brave has heard that, and they might want a piece of that action.
Yeah, beautiful defensive strat coming through there, but as you said, Akomi, they are going to be looking to spring into action. Citizen already cooking up a few nades, trying to see if they can reach and trying to play the upset. But this is where Epsilon Axe actually find themselves in a very tough position. I mean, they've got that dip, right? Ooh, and half of their team currently are situated there. But will we see a bit of that Overwatch, a little bit of that overshadowing approach coming through here from the remainder? I mean, we got Frost also now, where they could look to just defend, but still such a tough position to get themselves secured. I mean, Marley there from Achomi also trying to push up a little bit further, trying to flank up, but they will get spotted and to their knees.
I was about to say that is a good flank coming through from Marley, but there's so many teams, so many players still alive that you can't just be going on those very long rotations. But God's Ultimate, the winning team from Picado, find only one vehicle and sending all 4 players into the zone, but they lose 2. As Epsilon are not happy about the 2 they've lost, they're looking to exert that anger on another team as we start to see the shots come through. God's Ultimate trying their best to survive as we start to see a lot of smokes coming in through. But right now, they have just walked, or should I say they've just driven into a sandwich position.
I mean, this is a very, very tough spot to try and play off of. So God's Ultimate going to try and make the most out of what they've been dealt. We do see Alpi also sneaking in onto the edge there, as we can have Fan just hanging back. But now it's going to be between the side of Achomi as well as Epsilon and God's Ultimate to have the decisive play. Who will be the team allowed to move forward? Achomi definitely have the numbers advantage when it comes to this altercation, and let's see whether or not they can actually utilize that in their favor.
Yeah, Chomi able to grab themselves that revive is very nice to see. Epsilon still trying to hold on to that defense, trying to ward off the side there of God's Ultimate as they find yet another knock onto one of the players. Gohan, nice vision coming through. Leon is just chilling in that vehicle. We'll see how long he can chill in that vehicle before he gets spotted there. But Epsilon are doing such a great work in warding off two teams. You know, they're not just warding off the side there of God's Ultimate, they're also trying to ward off the players there from Akobe Brave. It's nice to see. But the question is, how long can they do this for? As that blue zone would start to push in just a matter of seconds.
I think a big threat here could be that position coming through from Mali, especially now for Epsilon and the side here of God's Ultimate. But it's all going to come down to whether or not Mali can actually utilize that position. You can see Gohan already getting a little bit of that due diligence done, just scanning the vicinity, trying to pick out a few of those misplaced pixels. But at the same time, we've got Vengeance trying to push forward. We got Kazama also holding on the edge. So the pressure is not going to relent just yet. And instead, it is going to be looking to get dialed up. But Chomi, I still have such a long way to go to clear out the edge here.
That southeast, that southwestern edge is still not completely clear. Speaking of southeast, we have Big Baby holding on to that position. Rush squad up there on that northern side, looking to do quite a couple of damage there from that north. But right now, it is all eyes on that western front. There's quite the number of teams. There's 11 teams alive, and I don't even want to start counting how many teams are on that western front. But here's what we're talking about: the north, as we start to see Rush team full sending it onto the idea of DX, and this is very impressive coming through from Rush team. We saw them do this in the first game of today against this same team, and now they've come to do it again. I'm beginning to count the scores. It's 2-0, you know?
Well, I mean, you can't really fault what Shroom is doing there. But now it's going to be up to the remainder here of DX to see whether or not they can pull through and just survive all the way to the NCR. Now, just trying to get themselves properly and decently patched up as they are left to defend the honor of their squad. Ooh, but a very testing position. I mean, Waka also going to be looking to just poke and prod as best they can. I'm waiting for that push, that play to come through here from Rush Team, holding true to their own team name.
Yeah, I really understand why they wouldn't go for that push. That last player there says finds himself in the open fields, and they can already hear the shots coming through from TPS. So it's a situation knowing that if they push up onto that one player, it's not going to be worth it because they might end up getting a couple knocks or even losing a couple of players. If I were to be decided of Rush squad or Rush team, wait for that next zone to build up, try to see what next two can do. And I feel like a Rush team, the next compound on their mind would be that one being held by TPS.
Well, let's see whether or not they are going to be looking to rush into T-Pass. In the meanwhile, there's going to be a Charmy and God's Ultimate still fighting on the edge of the blue zone. Great nade coming through there from Ha as it reaches in. Down goes Leon as Frost follows through with a final nail into the coffin. God's Ultimate at least managing to get a few points on board, so gotta love it for them. But now comes the hard work, not only for the players here from Achomi, but also then looking at the side of Kazama as well as Epsilon. Both teams still having to relocate to that zone.
They need to start to make that move into that zone, and right now they would have to face off against the side of Imperial's family, but it's going to be Kazama taking the fight first. Imperial family down by 1, and it's almost about to become 2 now as we see the push coming in through from Pretty. Grenades being sent to the top of the compound. I love it. The building is currently being barraged with grenade, and Sentu has to fall downstairs, jumps down. Little bit of HP left in the bank. It's only a matter of time. This is a nice push coming in from the side of Kazama as they go in sending. Asumuna looking for the knocks. Not quite able to find it just yet. They're stalling. It's a little bit of a stalemate for the time being as the Molly gets down one player there from Kazama.
Yeah, now it's going to be down to the 2-piece here of the Imperials family. Nades now getting sent all over the place. Let's see whether or not they can hold true. Oh, we gotta watch out for those S12K hits. Beautiful nades getting delivered, unfortunately. Oh, it doesn't land the hit, but a souvenir gets taken on down. And that is gonna be nearly the end of Kazama. We still have Klaus just crawling around. We have Teddy on the off end. Let's see whether or not Preeti can actually get the clutch in. Secured Marley with the follow through, and that is it.
Yep, that is going to be it for Team Kazama. What looked to be a beautiful push from there. They stalled a little too much, and the side here of Imperial family were just able to find their footing and take out the A-limbs. But that being said, Akomi Brave heard the shots. Rush Team heard the shots. They want a little bit of the action, and hopefully Rush Team or make that Akomi Brave do not make the same mistake that Kazama team made in delaying that push a little too long, as Rush Team is up the top of the queue trying to take a little bit of third-party action.
I mean, the Xiaomi now starting to run away with those eliminations, already hitting 9. But now the pressure is going to be on here for Imperial's family. Fortunately, they are well secured within the zone, but still got to watch out for Rush, as Rush has now opted for a 2 split, which is a very bold play to come through with here. Let's see whether or not Raika G is going to be able to get the jump in, as they do form up, looking to close the gap. Now is the golden opportunity, and that is exactly what we see, as Imperial's family gets sent back in 6th place, only 2 eliminations up, but Achomi still hanging in the wing.
Yep, still hanging in the wing. They get the first knock up to Raikage, and that man already down to 3 players there from the side of Rush Team. As we see Tipoka loading up a grenade. The nades are good as Marley falls. We're looking to see that push come through. Rush Team has seemed to be one of those teams that are able to hold up a very nice push onto the rest of the squad. They fight as a squad, and they're able to do as much damage as one of the players there from Achomi forced to go for a heal. Acha just looking to hold on. But the grenades, they're so good from the side of Rush Team. It's preventing any sort of push that Achomi Brave might want to pull off.
Ooh, just managing to patch up a little bit of that play, but they're not going to be able to continue with that res, at least not right now. But look at the spread though coming through here from Achomi. Also now focusing their efforts on a little bit of break off coming through from the Rush Team. But here we have it. Oh, the shot. Absolutely devastating. Shroom coming through with another blow. And now we have a 3v4 showdown. But still, that blue zone is just about to start nipping at their heels as well.
Yep, this is just wonderful from Rush Team. Take the fight, go for the third party. You got yourself a couple of elims. Right now, it's looking like Achomi Brave is delaying that fight a little too much. Leave the situation. Try to find yourself better positions in the circle. I would have expected them to push up onto the side of Team Best before going up for that third party. But right now, it does seem like they will have to be forced to go for an unwilling 2-2 splits there.
I mean, no surprise to see T-Bears being able to just go absolutely crazy here. Rush very, very exposed. But I was actually quite curious to see how these teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated moving into the next phase. There's no coverage to work with aside from the position that T-Bears is holding onto here. And I mean, this is a golden opportunity for them, right? Achomi might have the tables now getting turned against them. You could say the same thing here about Rush, as they do find themselves in a bit of an awkward sandwich. And Lazy X now just lasering in, finding the sprays. But will they have the final devastating blows?
There's the angles that Team TPS are able to hold. It is so devastating for the rest of the lobby because they see so much. Roger does fall as Big Baby now, start to do the damage. They have 0 eliminations. The only team without an elimination here in this final 5. And they're starting to put up some numbers up on board. Then it's one of those players there with very strong long-range abilities. We did see that come through in the first game. And right now, Achomi Brave not having too much options now, as only that airdrop seems to be the only source of cover that they might have in that next zone.
Well, let's see whether that is going to be serving them. The airdrop is definitely not that much to make to make much use of, as it is just about to touch on down. There could be, of course, that beautiful bit of an upgrade. But guys, I'm curious now as to how this next shift is going to play out. I mean, T-Pez being able to make so much out of their positioning here. And I mean, Achomi, Rush, all so very exposed out in the open, as we do see Achomi now getting packed up, shipped out. 11 eliminations up to their name, though.
To be honest, Achomi, they had done enough. They did so much work, so much damage already. If they go out right now, it is good. Or now that they've gone out, it's not too bad. It's not a bad game. 5th position, 11 eliminations up on board. That is quite decent numbers to put up on the leaderboards there. As we're down to the final 14, Big Baby also holding a position, forced to move, but the side here of TPS still have a little chunk of their compound still in the zone, so they will be able to work with that high ground advantage once more. And I like that, Rush Team has just decided to just stay quiet, let the smokes do most of the talking. Try to buy yourself as much time as possible going into these late phases.
Yeah, I mean, there's no rush on pushing forward because they are very exposed. There's nowhere really left to go. Vengeance, I mean, we did see Akar also keeping nice and quiet. Dennis getting so close, but great discipline being shown here by Vengeance. Let's see whether or not Akar is going to be able to mount that play. Ooh, Bombando, they spotted them out. Up comes the push. Dennis getting ready to try. Yes, and they succeed as they do secure themselves that elimination. Vengeance out in fourth. And we are down to the final three. It's going to be Rush, T-Pez, as well as Big Baby. But I got to say, though, Grounds, I think T-Pez, they have the best possible position here.
Yep, they have a very, very strong position. They're able to, and this position gives them so much advantage. It can obstruct anything that is going to happen in this zone. And you can tell that Big Baby are worried about it because you can't push up onto the side here of T-Pez, nor can they push up onto the side here of Rush team, because whichever team they try to push, T-Pez has so much of an advantage that they can always stop them before they even get to that team that they want to push up with. But man, for T-Pez, this is where we start to wonder, do they have enough, not just utilities, but do they have enough loot in the bags to continue with the game as we start to see the numbers of bullets that they have start to reduce?
I mean, the difficulty is obviously going to come through if the zone moves a little bit further down south, right? Then they're going to have a pretty tough time, especially looking at where Rush is positioned. But it does seem like Rush is essentially focusing down on towards Big Baby, so there could be a golden opportunity for T-Pez to sneak up behind them and come through with a bit of a surprise. But either which way, this is still a very contentious spot to try and defend. I mean, Rush, they've been doing phenomenally, already sitting on double-digit eliminations. So they've got a good approach, a good play to get themselves potentially into that winner-winner chicken dinner.
Yep, they have the center of the next circle now. They have so much cover to work with. T-Pez has to move. Side of Big Baby also has to move. I do not know if there's vehicles in the back there, or sorry, if there's vehicle in the side there of the players there from T-Pez, which would mean that they might have to rotate into the circle using their feet as we start to see the smokes coming in through. I know there's still a little bit of vehicles in commission there for Big Baby. And I think Big Baby, seeing that T-Pez has to move, might be willing to play either gatekeep, or they can decide to go for that full send onto the side here of Rush team. And it looks like they might be going for the option of the latter.
Oh, here we go. Baban now. Just getting a little bit of that security onto the edge. I mean, Rush, probably feeling pretty excited at this point. I mean, smack dab center, but they've got good information as to the whereabouts of the opposing teams.
Oh, that's a nice play.
But you gotta watch out these angles. Baban can still reach in and cause absolute havoc. And here comes Caster, as well as Lazy X now, trying to make a little bit of that stand coming through from the north.
I like the fact that Rush team realized that Big Baby want to push up to their position, and they were proactive and ready for whoever was trying to push them, able to stop that one player there in the tracks, not over peeking too much because they know that T-Pez still also has an angle. This is so much game awareness coming through from Rush team, and I'm enjoying what I'm seeing coming through from them so far. Still a little bit of a stalemate though, as we down to a 2v2v2.
Oh, come on. I mean, I'm to some extent hoping that T-Pez gets the play here because, you know, they've just been blessed a little bit with positioning up until this phase. But, I mean, if Rush are able to hold on, if they are able to just whittle away the opponent, there could be a gold opportunity for an absolute insane winner-winner chicken dinner to come their way. I mean, just looking at the contribution coming through from each of their players, everyone has brought their bit to this match. So let's see whether or not they can, you know, uphold that approach, maybe play for the honor here. Now comes the rush coming through from T-Pez. Big Baby also going to be looking to spot a bit of an opportunity on the edge.
Yeah, I feel like this is a Rush chicken dinner. They have eyes on every other team. The only team that can potentially stand in the way of them and the chicken dinner would be T-Pez, because T-Pez seem to be more, clustered up or together themselves than the side there of Big Baby. So if Baby tries to push up onto the side there of Rush, they can always take them. But bear in mind, this is the last circle, and Rush team find themselves relatively closer to the circle or to the center than the rest of the team. So it's going to be down to absolute carnage and the return fire that might be able to come through from all these players. I still like the smoke usage coming in through, but Babani now taking a lot of shots coming from Rush team, gonna be able to survive a little bit for the time being.
I mean, it's a very, very tough position to try and play through here. As you can see, T-Pairs now down to Casa. This is going to be a very, very difficult play to be
See
made
him.
coming through from the north. But Dennis, oh, there we go. Very, very sneaky play down to a 2v2 to have our decider. Now it is going to be the approach coming through from Rush. Very exposed. Yeah, Big Baby locks it in. A very unfortunate play coming through there for Rush, but as we know, it is what it is.
It is what it is. A chicken dinner with what? I believe 4 eliminations. Small, but I'll take it. I will take it. I think they actually did get themselves 6 eliminations up on board there, so that is actually a good play coming through from Big Baby. I was a bit skeptical about their position in that game because I felt like they were holding one position for a little too long, but fortunately for them, it actually did play out well for them at the end. I like the fact that towards the end of the game, they realized what they needed to do. I loved when they went for those drives to clear out the teams that are on the edge, and when it got to the time of rush, they did not rush it too much because they knew that T-Pest was on the off angle, so it was a lot of proactivity coming through from Big Baby there. Well deserved chicken dinner for them.
Yeah, I gotta agree. Well deserved win a chicken dinner coming through from them, but as we know, a lot of hard work has to come through at some point. Rush team coming through with an insane run with those eliminations coming through on 12. Chomi also then coming in on 11. But Big Baby, despite getting the winner chicken dinner, I mean, it's tough to compete against what Rush and Chomi have been able to bring on through, but still such a strong representation for a top 3.
Big Baby able to get themselves in that top position again. The first game of the day we saw them finish in second place in terms of placement points. In terms of placement, in the game. And now going into this game, they finish in first position. So that is a little bit of consistency coming through. But in terms of elims, elimination consistency, Rush team has been on something else. 12 eliminations to put up on board. That was a wonderful game coming through from them in this Miramar.
Yeah, and unfortunately this time around, Firestorm, well, they are going to be sitting with a bag full of bubbles, as they won't be able to get themselves any points this time around. I mean, it's unfortunate, but as we know, it's kind of just the way it goes, right? Teams trying everything that they can, bringing it out onto the battlefield, and a very aggressive showing. I mean, the zone presented quite a few challenges moving up and towards that far eastern side, limiting the playable area so drastically. But I think the team's keeping that pacing very, very consistent. And of course, speaking about which, we are going to be heading into Sanhok next. So be sure to stay tuned, and we'll see you right back after the break.
It's time to upgrade your PUBG mobile outfits. Join free daily cups for solo, duo or squads. Win Face It points. Exchange for PUBG Mobile UC. To customize your accounts, join Face It today and earn rewards. Try for free at faceit.com/PUBG Mobile.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're getting ready to move into our third match of the day. Already we've seen two winner chicken dinners come through. Team LP clutching the first one. And of course, well, then the big babies reigning supreme in game number 2. But, well, so far, Crowns, you've been able to get one of the predictions correct. So well done. You are, well, 1 for 2. So GG on that one. But I think while we're on the GG, it's also going to give a big shout out to everyone in chat. I can see a lot of support coming through for the teams. You know, I'm pretty sure they are quite happy about that, having, you know, such a large support coming in behind them. But speaking of which, right, we are going to be moving over into a little bit of that Sanhok action. And this is where I think it's going to be quite interesting to see exactly how these teams are going to be looking to push through. I mean, we've seen our Charmy getting super aggressive. We did have Rush also getting super aggressive in this last match. And, well, yeah, we've seen a very similar kind of approach coming through on Erangel as well. And I want to see who's going to be the team to run away with those eliminations once we step into Sanhok.
Yeah, really, you can't just let them, Rush team be the one team that is taking all the eliminations. And now that we're going into Sanhok, seeing that Rush team were able to play this way in Erangel and Miramar, man, I actually feel like in the map here of Sanhok, they will be absolutely raging. So I want to see how well that is going to work. Also keeping my eye out on Team Alpi to see if they will be having a hot drop or not, because we did see the hot drop. And as we said, going into the Miramar, that the hot drop would be the one thing, or maybe one of the things that can, prevent Alpi from getting themselves a good performance. And in that last game, they did get themselves a little bit of a hot drop situation. So let's see how Sanhok plays out there for Team Alpi.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see, as you said, whether or not we are having a few hard drops potentially on the horizon. It might be the case, as we can see over to, well, God's Ultimate, as well as the Charmy and Rush. Ooh, getting into a little bit of a position over on towards that far western side. But in the meanwhile, it is going to be Firestorm and the players here from Vengeance, getting ready for a bit of a showdown up in Bootcamp, as both teams now look to make their way on through. And this, again, is going to be a very hot and heated altercation.
Yeah, I'm not going to blame anybody. I love the bootcamp hot drop fight, so let's get into it. Other than that, I like the fact that there's quite some parts that are open. So the teams now, going into tomorrow's games, they should know the different places that are available for them to land. Camp Alpha is open, Naham is open, Painan is free, the Quarry is free, Kampong is free. These are places that everyone could decide to land. So I'm going to keep my eye out for tomorrow. But Akomi Brave, they already find themselves in a long altercation here with the players there from God's Ultimate. That Citizen has no weapon in hand. We would even looking to challenge the Uzi with his fist. I look forward to seeing that one, as Marley looking to do a lot of damage now, AKM in hand. Going for that push up onto Blue, as Marley would fall. Blue with 1 HP, able to get the damage done. Citizen to fall into the water, but half from behind finds yet another knock onto the side of God's Ultimate. God's Ultimate, we saw them survive well in a hot drop there in Miramar. But here in Sanhok, out in the outskirts of Ruins, they seem to be having a tough time.
Yeah, things are definitely looking to be quite challenging here. But I mean, you can't really fault the Chomi here because, they've been showing some pretty good consistency in their previous few matches, rather. And now it's going to be down to a solo to carry their name forward. This is a golden opportunity for God's Ultimate to add even more eliminations to the tally, but they're going to have to be real quick about it. As we can see, Rush also now coming through. They've heard the noise. They are going to be looking to try and punish whoever they can find.
As Rush Squad already finding themselves on top of the breach, they find the last player there from Achobi Brave, so that is not even nice at all for the team, for Akobi there, but that is going to be there. GG, well played. Bootcamp fight also concluded in the background, as Team Vengeance did find themselves going back with Firestorm getting all the eliminations there in Bootcamp. God's Ultimate able to keep themselves up as a full squad. I'm enjoying that so far. Rush team decided to take out Akomi instead of God's Ultimate. So right now, God's Ultimate might just be able to get out of there, maybe lose one player in the process, but for one, I think they should be able to get out of here quite safely.
I mean, this already is such a great start coming through here for God's Ultimate. As we know, moving into this match, they started off with 4 points. So already being able to essentially, meet all those points just in this one match alone is going to be very, very favorable for them. But they're going to have to try and find a way to ensure that they get out of this engagement as Rush. They are just slowly picking them apart, and Leon even now has been spotted, and this is... Ooh! Shroom coming through, down they go. Shroom going boom again. Absolutely amazing stuff.
Very, very amazing. When I meant God's Ultimate could leave this fight, I expected that they would have used the water, do a little bit of the swimming to get their way across or to another position, because really it wouldn't be something that Rush squad or Rush team would be expecting them to do. But right now, in the compounds, Rush team already pushing up. We do know how strong that team can be when it comes to breaches. So start to see grenades being prepped. So that's a good one up to Costi Power. Lands, but Costi Power able to get out of dodge, but Raikage spots them with that M416 in their hand. And Blue, the last player left to hold on the forts. DBS going for the full send. UMP, the hands there of Blue, looking to go for this. We have free fire, finds one. Instant thirst to follow. That is good. As Rush team, not quite pushing as a full squad now, but now they're coming in as a 3-man team. Blue holding his hands, but cannot do that against 3 more players as Rush team get themselves 5 eliminations to get started here in Sanhok.
Grounds, I gotta say, I was really looking forward to God's Ultimate's approach here because they are the only team that can do blue damage.
Without actually blue damage. If you get it, you get it.
I mean, I was so looking forward to it.
Sadly, yeah, it's not going to be happening in this Sanhok. One thing I know is that I wouldn't be expecting to see this this hot drop situation. At least this one in the ruins, I wouldn't be expecting it to switch going into tomorrow's games. We could tell that Akomi Brave were looking to fall back away from that ruins area. It looked like they might have had Camp Alpha in mind. So I would look forward to seeing, Akomi Brave from tomorrow's games go over all the way to Camp Alpha. Other than that, ruins is still going to be held by Rush team as they're just looking to get their loot completed up now, as every other team start to look for that rotation into that next circle.
But it's interesting to see how the teams have been, playing their way through this match. I mean, a stark contrast in comparison to what we've seen in the previous 2. Yes, there was a little bit of that early game aggression coming in, but aside from that, the teams taking a completely different approach into the map of Sanhok. I mean, a much more laid-back play, if you could say that. But I'm curious to see just how these teams are going to be looking to step it up as we progress into those later few phases. I mean, Imperial's family, nice bit of a looting session all the way down in towards Docks. But if they start swimming across, they are going to be rotating in right alongside the players here from Epsilon Axe, who's already spotted them.
I like the fact that Tornado is not even taking the shots just yet. Has an idea that there is a team that would want to cross. And I think Sentry is also aware of the team that is on the other side of things. It's very interesting to see that Imperial family are looking towards Epsilon, given that Epsilon is on the other side of things. And while they're swimming, they could go around, go through the cave, instead of having to swim. Because when they swim now, they will just stand on the shorelines. There is no cover to work with. It's going to be easy pickings for the side of Epsilon.
I mean, that would definitely be a very, very interesting approach if they're able to get themselves secured up in towards cave. But looking at what Epsilon is doing, positionally speaking, they might be able to stop the Imperials before they even get on. And that is exactly what we see unraveling now as, Epsilon, good defense, good awareness brought onto the edge. But Grodex, I mean, this is, you could say, essentially one of those, plays where they find themselves between a rock and a hard place.
Yep, and now it's very complicated for them because now Century and Kovu would have to go through another path to get into the zone, and then they have Grodex already on the other side of things. So now Grodex, what are the odds that Grodex would make it back, would be able to make that swim back to this rock? Because as I said, there really is no point trying to push up to the shorelines. There's absolutely no cover to work with. Side of Epsilon are holding all sorts of angles, especially this one coming through from Gohan. It's going to be such a pain for the side of the Imperial family to try to get.
Oh, up comes Gohan with a little bit of a spray. I mean, for Imperials, this is, as you've said, right, going to be a very, very challenging play to get themselves secured. But I mean, Epsilon, right, they are going to be smiling all the way through. But now I think the big question comes is whether or not we'll have any other team potentially encroaching on this play. Because as we know, if you make too much noise on Sanhok, it does draw quite a bit of attention to your position. Fortunately, for what we could see on the map, there are not going to be any teams in the vicinity that could pose that threat. So it's essentially down to Epsilon and Imperial's family to see who's going to be able to get out of this position, as we do have Centauri now trying to just push a little bit further out of reach.
Yeah, they're trying their best to leave this position. They're taking so much damage. Thankfully, they're slowly getting out of view or out of rendered distance, so they might just be able to pull this one off. But that was a very close one, especially given the fact that that was a push that they did not need to embark on to get started with.
Well, let's see whether or not Pablo can maybe find a little bit of an opportunity here. I mean, good vantage point, good bit of reach, but Epsilon coming to the realization that, you know, maybe they need to bring Gohan back on their feet. Corvu also going to be looking to get themselves patched up. In the meanwhile, we do have Rush and Big Baby finding themselves in a bit of a showdown, as Rush now getting dealt quite a bit of a tough play and essentially now being down to only one.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you know, I see quite the number of these teams aren't using the vehicles because they're not trying to use the vehicle meta in Sanhok, which I was about to say, you know, I'm not really sure how I feel about the vehicle meta, but I guess Rush team tried to get into vehicles to make that rotate, and that is essentially what led to their downfall there. So I guess I'm starting to have my opinion on that vehicle meta, maybe not being the best option there in Sanhok, you know. Maybe just play Sanhok the old-fashioned way, where you just try to, you know, activate your inner walker and just walk across the map.
Yeah, like Luke Skywalker. I also just realized that we've got two Dennises in this match, in the lobby. So we've got Dennis from Firestorm and Dennis from Big Baby. So I want to see a little bit of that Dennis v Dennis play come through at some point. In the meanwhile, we are going to be looking at DX also now finding themselves a bit of a position over on towards the southern edge. I mean, this could be a very interesting play coming through here, especially looking at DX, as we've not seen all that much with regards to points from DX really being secured so far today.
They've not really woken up, if you put the word that way, not quite able to get themselves as many points up on board. But you know, maybe this is just them just trying to gather as much information as possible. We do get a southern shift on the zone, so maybe this might just be DX's game to take home. But Epsilon has got such a nice position held in that circle. A little bit of a 2-2 split going on there. I would rather they go for maybe a position where they can breach camp a bit as compared to just holding that long 2-2 split. But I'd like to see how well they'll play this game, Epsilon, going into the later phases.
I mean, we also did see that leaderboard shown just a few moments ago. I mean, this again being a great opportunity for a team like Team Alpi to see if they can maybe add even more points to their overall tally. Beggar is going to be the first player to get their hands on a little bit of that loot as well. Now, Avoid, coming through with their own approach. And again, so many different angles that can be held here. I mean, we've got Alpi very, very close towards Camp Charlie, just the opposite end of the pond. But I think the big play is going to come through here from Big Baby, as they also now just sneaking in, very similar to what DX did.
It's quite interesting to see Big Baby go for a southern shift. To be honest, I'd have expected them to go more from that western side, given that they have a couple of high grounds just outside the outskirts of Camp Charlie. Right now, it does look like they want a little bit of that band position. Seeing the way Big Baby has played the first two games, it is quite obvious that they're a team that prefers to be within cover, especially the cover of buildings and compounds. We saw them do that in the first two games, which to an extent, it would almost look like they're playing passively because they won't get too many elims so far there in cover. Right now, they have 2 eliminations to already get the game started. We're going to be seeing how well they'll be able to play from this southern position that they've opted to go to.
Well, let's see if these angles are going to align. Big Baby, nice setup coming through. But meanwhile, we are going to be hopping back onto the east as Imperial Family now feel the pressure starting to build. Kazama, right? They've been very quiet in match number 2. But this could be that golden opportunity in the later half of the day to step up with the aggression and maybe play a similar game to what we had on their first Erangel.
Hopefully they're able to replicate such great performances. They already have quite a number of knocks, have the numbers advantage to work with, so hopefully they can do that one. But Alpi now on the high ground have themselves on an advantage in this fight against the side of Avoid as we start to see grenades come through from Bego. One knock has been found. Off angles looking to come through as Sandrick takes a couple of shots from the behind. Alpi loses one more player in Van. As Avoid able to turn the tides now, gets themselves the high ground advantage. Bego's head has been spotted. A grenade flies out from Bego. Is it on the money? No, it's not. A Molotov to follow from the side there of Desti. But none just connects just yet. And it's such a nice angle being held there by Desti as Avoid now gives them a little bit of advantage. The nade is good. Finds yet another. Bego holding on the end. Launches down the grenade to find a little bit of a trade. One is down looking for two. The quick picks are there. And he finds the knock. It's now a 1v1. Where's the rest of... Avoid, come on. Coming through from behind and it's a slither of HP left for Bego. Desti's got that grenade prepped up. Definitely has to be on the money. Boom, it lands. Only tick damage is done. But Bego realizes they have to leave that rock as soon as possible as more grenade starts to land. Bego prepping this one, launches it through as the footsteps are there. The damage is done. DPS in the arms of Bego. Looking to push it from the right-hand side. Rock advantage, he has it. Going on for the push on to the left and gets the clean squad wide.
GG, Bego with a beautiful, beautiful showdown. Managing to just outpace the opposing edge. I mean... You got to give it to Avoid, right? They played hard. I mean, up on the cave hill, that's not an easy spot to defend. So you know you got to commend the efforts. In the meanwhile, speaking about efforts, it is going to be DX now. Is going to be trying to step up. Oh, beautiful nade finding its way up into Ramon. Oh, DVS to the faces. Camera comes through with an absolutely devastating hit. Now, Big Baby are going to be down to 2 pieces. Going to be overlaid. Trying to just mount a bit of a response coming through on the very edge. But DX, right, they've got the numbers advantage. And I'm not quite sure whether or not Baban, is going to be able to defend the honor here for Big Baby.
This is very, very interesting for Big Baby to see that this was the play they opted for. Because they had the high ground that DX find themselves on right now. But they just did not go for that full send. You know, which was, oh no! Which was basically what I'd expected them to have done, you know, hold on to the high grounds. But they did not. They decided to push down to the low grounds, and that did not work out well for them in any manner. But Vani's the last player left to hold down the fort for the team, and the quick pick coming in through from Kama would find that knock and the confirm. Big Baby back into the lobby. That is most of the teams that are up there on the top of the board need to already go out early.
Well, I mean, that is definitely an interesting showing come through. But I think the big pressure play that is going to be happening here is, of course, the blue that is going to be sweeping up onto DX. So, I mean, best of luck to them to get themselves situated. As we can see, Cam now, very, very tough spot. Very similar thing happening up on towards the eastern edge here as we got Kovu pushing through. Alpi now trying to pick it up, and beautiful play as Bego secures yet another elimination.
Someone stop this man. 7 eliminations there for Bego. And he's just looking to do so much damage. I think it's the Mommy Suit DK. What do you think?
It must be. It must be because they've got this under wraps. Yeah.
And I look at Sandrick there. He's grabbing himself one more Mommy Suit. You know, maybe might just be able to tap out of that that OPness that comes through from the Mommy Suits. But anyway, we're not going to be talking too much about that. We do see that zone move up to the north, though. Firestorm finding themselves in a very, very strong position at the center of the circle. Team TPS, I'm glad to see that they have a full squad alive in this game. That's not something that we've seen too often, you know, in the last 2 games.
I mean, that's exactly what we want to see from these teams, right? Being able to bounce back. We need that BBA, the bounce back ability. Speaking of which, Team LP, also one of those teams in urgent need of a little bit of that BBA love. I mean, Bego, big carry coming through here. 7 eliminations, all the eliminations, in fact, for the team. And, well, now they feel themselves in a bit of a sticky spot as TPS are going to be looking to push through, get the wrap. Down goes Bego, and now Sandro is the last one left to try and just survive the onslaught.
Yeah, Sandrick just looking to run into the bottom of the cave there. There's only so much you can do. Prepping that grenade for Lazy, though, as Lazy does look for that push. Lazy understands that that grenade is being prepped. Nice use of headphones coming through from Lazy there. They're looking for that last player so frantically. Sanhok looking to try to make it into that cave, but that zone wouldn't be helping matters at all. Until that TPS looking to hold on the force, making sure that player does not come out. That's a good molly though. He does find the knock and the confirm. That is going to be all for Team Alpi. 7 eliminations that they're able to gather, get themselves a couple placement points up on board. It was what we can call a GG.
Yeah, speaking about GG, I'm curious to see whether or not Teddy can bear that move on that is about to come through. Oh, yeah, never mind. Frost does end the run there for Kazama. Down they go. And with that, we are down to our final 5 teams. As you can see, Firestorm and TPS, the only 2 teams here currently left on 3 players. Everybody else either has 2 or 1 players remaining. But for Rush, it is going to be Shroom. So, as we know, Shroom, once they get out of the water, well, or maybe out of the lobby, would have been able to pack quite a bit of a punch, but well played though, coming through from the side of Epsilon Axe.
Yeah, that was a very consistent spray that came through from Tornado there. I'm seeing a little bit of a huge strat coming through from the players there, from the last player there from DX. I would like to see how much or how long they're able to pull off that huge strat for. So essentially, we're down to the final 3 teams, as it looks like TPS are starting to eye that position being held by Firestorm. Looking to draw in closer, watching from the outskirts, trying to gather as much information as possible. And yep, that is the play zone taking out DXAFG. We're down to the final 3 teams.
Well, let's see how this one is going to follow through. The opportunity is there. I mean, Firestorm, great setup. Smack dab center zone, 5 eliminations. What more could you ask for? This is exactly the kind of setup they need. They've got the hard cover. TPS, though, going to come knocking on the door. Epsilon Axe, exactly the same approach here. But I think this is going to be the big tester for Firestorm because, as we saw, over on Miramar, they had a bit of a tough run. So this is an opportunity for Firestorm now to prove themselves. They've already done so much. 5 eliminations does add quite beautifully to their tally. And now they hold on to the only hardcover compound in the zone.
Yeah, and they're looking to hold on to that one for the time being, and no team is looking to push into them just yet. I think ideally the only team that can push up to their position there of Firestorm would be Epsilon. TPS looking to just stay outside, gather a little bit of information, and hope that when this next zone closes up, it does favor them a bit, which is a nice play. You know, try to delay and slow down the game for as much as possible, so you can gather as much as much information as possible. Side of Firestorm realize that they cannot get out of that building for any reason, as they just await the push that might be coming through onto their compound.
Well, let's see who's going to be the next team to get themselves up into high gear. Very, very cautious approach coming through from Epsilon, and rightly so. They know what's at stake. And if they pull this one off, I mean, this could be a phenomenal, phenomenal play, but the zone is going to be shifting even further up into the northeast. No one really having much safety aside from Firestorm.
Yep, and Firestorm now losing 1. I did say that they did not have any business outside the building, and Rolex did go outside, and now they've been taken out now. Epsilon looking for that, using that as an advantage, actually, to push up onto this building held by Firestorm. They already started to see the trouble is coming as Fat John does get spotted. The players there from Firestorm not getting this one right in a manner, as they have just the 1 player left to hold on the fort. Tornado trying to force out that heal. The grenade is from Dennis. Looks for the land. There's a little bit of tick damage, but not more than that, as they have to jump outside the building. TPS spots them, takes them out, and TPS now, they've been inching closer and closer to the chicken dinner from the first game. And now it is looking like their game for the taking, as they're now in a 3v1 situation up against Dennis. There was only one Dennis that survived this game. And can this Dennis pull off a 1v3?
No, the big question is, can this Dennis be the menace they need to be to clutch it out? They do manage to heal themselves up, but up comes the push to play. T-Pez get the winner chicken dinner. Beautiful rush, and of course, that is exactly what we want to have, right? Teams rising up like, you know, phoenixes from the ashes. T-Pez, very strong representation coming into this. We just gotta love the aggression they were able to show. But I think a big GG needs to go out to the side there of Firestorm. I mean, they played such an aggressive match here.
Yeah, they were able to get themselves 5 eliminations, but then when it just came towards that ending, they did not just get that right at all. I was expecting them to stay and await that push that would have inevitably come through from Epsilon, because they had a little bit of an idea that there was a team that might be coming through from them, but Rolex going outside and getting knocked to the side there of T-Pest did not help matters in any manner. Not too much of a top heavy game this time. It's a little bit, I would almost say it's almost even, but 14 points for first place. Firestorm able to get themselves 11 points in general. Epsilon with 11. It's spread across well evenly this time on this first page.
Yeah, you gotta love it though. I mean, Rush, Alpi also still maintaining a great bit of consistency here, but a great effort coming through from DX AFG. I mean, they've just brought it in here. Gotta love it when teams, get the opportunity to step up and showcase all their talents. But looking at Epsilon X, I mean, they were so close to getting that jump in onto the side of Firestorm. If it wasn't for TPS to end their run, that could have been a very, very successful play coming in on their end. And unfortunately, a Jumpy, I mean, yeah, good effort, good try, but unfortunately, they're going to have to settle for a few bubbles again.
Yeah, it was just a hot drop situation out there in Sanhok that took Achomi Brave out. So I'm going to pardon them for that one. They've had such good games today. And now we're going back into the map of Erangel. We've seen them play well on Erangel in the first game. And I believe they will be able to bounce back up going into this next game. And one thing is sure, the mistakes that they've made here in the Sanhok game will not be repeating itself tomorrow.
Well, there's only going to be one way to find out. But before we get even close to tomorrow, we first have to move into our last match of the day, and that is going to be happening right after the break, so stay tuned.
fit in your box. Why you try to box me and I got the key to unlock? I know the locksmith, optics, speaking of loss, I'm eating lobster, chopsticks, freaking the boss, you know. I'll never fit in where I go at. Ooh, boss talk like I'm Boaz. Ooh, why fit in when you know you can stand out still? They remember you more when you hand out deals. Let's go. We won't fit in your box. We don't quit, we won't stop. Rise up to the top. We won't fit in your, we won't fit in your, we won't fit in your box. No, we don't quit, we won't stop. No, rise up to the top. We won't fit in your box. No, don't box me in. won't stop. Ride us all to the top. We won't fear to you, we won't fear to you. We won't fear to your vibes, no. We don't quit, we won't stop, no. Ride us all to the top, whoa. We won't fear to your vibes, no. Thank you, Ben, for coming out tonight. My name is Sanhok. Let's go.
What's up, guys? Welcome back. We're getting ready to move into our final match right here in day one of the last chance qualifiers for PMCO EU. And of course, as we know, the teams have been bringing so much out onto the battlefield, playing a very aggressive game, a somewhat challenging zone, as we saw over on towards Sanhok. But now, as we are going to be returning back onto Erangel, we get to see what the teams have been able to learn and how they're going to be applying that moving into Erangel yet again. Of course, the first match where you saw the players there from Alpi stepping up with a phenomenal winner chicken dinner. The big question here, I think, Rounds, is whether or not Alpi is going to be able to continue with their play, whether or not we could have a bit of an upset potentially come through from, well, essentially anyone, right? Maybe even Rush team looking to crack the can wide open.
Yeah, I feel like Rush team needs a chicken, or well, maybe not needs, would want a chicken dinner to close down the day. They've had sort of consistent performances across the board today, and I think this final game, if they're able to seal the cap on their head, they might just be able to start to push themselves towards that, qualification spot to the grand finals here of the PMCO.
Well, speaking of which, let's hop into the match as we are going to be coming through from the southern side of the zone. It's not often that we see a flight path looking this vertical. I mean, yeah, this is smack dab center just about. So the teams, I think, are going to be quite happy with the access they get from this flight path.
Yeah, this is actually a very forgiving flight path as compared to the we got first in the like on the first game of the day. And I'm just looking at those points there on that left with Rush team with 40, Big Baby with 30, Toppy with 30. T-Pest coming in with only 3 players. I'm skeptical, but okay. We're gonna see how well that is gonna work. But Akobe Brave, we were talking about Actually, maybe even Epsilon, sorry. We were talking about how they started that last game with only 4 points. But right now, they're able to gather themselves 18 points up on board. That is a good numbers that we're seeing there from that team.
Yeah, I mean that's a great opportunity, and there's definitely not a big gap, especially looking at those top eight positions, right? I mean, going from 15 up to 40, it does seem like it's a vast uh, opportunity, maybe a bit of a crazy try, but it's only 25 points, right? 25 points. We've seen it is a very achievable number to get in on these matches. Speaking about achievable, the zone. It's going to be interesting, at least for these teams to try and work with here. And I'm curious to see exactly who's going to be looking to get themselves situated up on that eastern bridge, as we already have about 4 teams now in very close proximity to it.
Yeah, it's very interesting to still see this amount of teams clustered up in the Muta area of the map. As I said, the first zone of the first playing path of the day was not very nice. It was all the way towards that left-hand side of the map. But right now, it was smack dab center, and I'm still seeing Epsilon. Maybe Epsilon could stay, but we saw Epsilon lose 2 players early on, or early in the game in the first Erangel game. So right now, I'd expect them to be on a more condensed split. If they are, then I'm fine with the landing. If there's splits, that's where I start to have a problem. But Pochinki is empty, which is weird because there was only one team in Pochinki, in the first game. So right now, I'm not really understanding what is going on in the lobby here.
I mean, they're keeping everyone on their toes, right? They're keeping the opposing teams on their toes, keeping us on our toes, and you got to really fault the teams for trying to step it up, trying to keep everybody guessing. But speaking about guessing, I'm curious to see exactly what DXAFG are going to be looking to do here. They've got a great angle done onto T-Bez, but again, T-Bez also a very favorable spot. Marley getting hunted and chased down there by Rush. Fortunately for Marley, Rush decided to disengage.
Yeah, I wouldn't have seen them, trying to chase that again any further, as our Rush team would decide to opt for the South Jojopo landing, I hope, and leave the entirety of North Jojopo up towards that side of Achomi. But the numbers there from Rush team, though, 9 eliminations on an average going on to today, that is absolute bonkers. Those are crazy numbers,
I mean, it's tough, right? It is tough. We got to see those crazy numbers now be brought to some kind of a conclusion at some point. But it's interesting to see teams also then going for a little bit of loot so far away from zone. So you got to commend them for their commitment, right? If they've decided that they want to go into North George, right? Whatever the zone throws at them, that's where they're going to go. That's where they're going to get their loot. And now we got to see a Chumby Brave find a good rotation back in towards the zone once they are essentially done with their looting phase.
Yeah, hopefully they're able to pull off the rotations there. That zone being on that southeastern front. Maybe not the best. TPS able to find that one knock onto the side of DX. And the thirst does look like something that Lazy doesn't want to let go. And the revives too, looking to come through from the side of DXLP. I'd love to see that proactivity coming through from DX to make sure that they're not losing any players, starting the game. It's a good one. Hopefully they're able to all make it out of here in one piece. TPS only came in with 3 players, so can understand why they might be looking to try to force teams out of their position.
Yeah, I mean you gotta make what you can with a reduced lobby coming into this play here. But T-Bez, I like how just aggressive they are in trying to send that message, right? It's like, you know what? It's fine if you rotate up, but just don't come here, please, right? Just stay there. If you come closer, we are gonna be forced to utilize our defenses, whatever they may be, but we are gonna be using them. So just watch out.
Yeah, it's a little bit of mind games, right? Because they've come into the game only as a 3-man squad. I'm not going to talk about that, but anyway, they've only come into the game as a 3-man squad, and they're just looking to make the other team feel like they're a full squad, because when you start hearing shots rain down onto your position, especially when you're trying to rotate, you probably think it's a full squad that are very excited to try and get a kneeling. You're definitely not thinking about pushing that squad. So I said it's just mind games coming through from the side of Team T. Yes, I like it.
I mean, that's a strat that could potentially be working, so I'm curious to see whether or not they'll be able to fend off any advances. Speaking about advances, though, Epsilon they are going to be looking to explore a little bit more of that Malta positioning. We got Team Kazama not too far away from them either. So I'm curious to see if anyone is going to maybe even venture up in towards the lumberyard that we have just up the hill.
The woodcutter log, isn't it? I would really like to see that place being played. I can understand why there's no one there yet. It's still the second phase, or actually the first circle. So I wouldn't really expect too many teams to want to go to that position, at least just yet, because there isn't too much cover. There's a whole lot of space around it for the time. But if it starts to get into those smaller circles, then that is a position that you can hold and seem to do so much damage from. But yeah, it is a place that I'm also keeping my eye out on.
Well, in the meanwhile, teams going about their business here. Epsilon Axe still exploring the edge there, well, the edge of Malta rather. LP starting with their descent down into the zone, as they've now just gained entry through the northwestern approach. We do see Firestorm also not too far away. I mean, they are not within sight just yet, but there could still be a bit of an opportunity for some interesting plays to come through. In the meanwhile, it is going to be a Void also now starting to rotate up from that military island. And fortunately for them, there's no one really contesting the bridge itself.
Well, do not call it out too early. We do have a little bit of a DX on that end of the bridge. So Avoid might just have to find a way to avoid the side of DX as they embark on their rotation. I can already see the play coming in through from them as they're deciding to use the shorelines to make it into the zone, which is a good play. Would eventually lead them into Muta. And you can see that DX have caught a whiff of them. They are aware that now there's a team that is coming through from that military island, and they might just be looking to ward them off.
Well, a little bit of a waiting game, a bit of a standoff now between Void and DX. I'm also curious to see exactly what we could maybe be having come through there from Epsilon Axe, as we just have them over on towards that western side. But so far, with nothing happening noise-wise, right? I don't think there's going to be any cue for Epsilon to be all too concerned about this approach, as we do await the rest of our teams now to get themselves out of that blue. It is going to be a Chomi as well as Rush, and then, of course, God's Ultimate. But, I mean, God's Ultimate. Grounds, we could see them maybe finding a little bit of a play onto the other half of DX.
Hopefully they might be able to do that one. We've not really seen God's Ultimate play too well today. We did see them win a couple fights there in the early engagements that they've been embarking on in the other games. But heading into that later phases, we've not really seen God's Ultimate do too much work. So right now, if they're able to capitalize on numbers, to push up the remaining two players there from DX, maybe we'll be seeing them play, relatively better in this game, as we're starting to see Marley. He was chased down in the beginning, and I guess it was just destined to happen. No?
Yeah, it was, it's just the way it goes. Citizen about to get ended right there. We got Ha taking a little bit of a push further over towards that eastern side. Rush already with 2 eliminations up, but from the positions that we saw within the zone, I think Imperial Family, they're going to have to find a good approach to get themselves resituated, because coming into this match, they've already got 6 points on board. So we want to see a few additional points maybe getting tallied up here as well. As for Rush, I mean, they don't really have to worry all too much, right? Coming through with 40 points, starting the match, now sitting on 42. They are in a very, very favorable setup. So regardless of whether or not the blue zone is going to be just chunking away the HP bars, they'll be okay.
I mean, they're just that team that would always find the momentum that you can just work off. 2 eliminations already early in the game. Their hands are already getting warmed up. They're looking good to get the game started. DX already finding a knock onto the side of Avoid. To be honest, I thought Avoid was going to use that shoreline all through just so they can avoid getting the shots there from DX. And, well, you can see that it really did work out for 2 of players there. Hopefully the last player would be able to make it. But now God's Ultimate looking for a little bit of a compound to hold on. As Rogo, what's that mini 14 in hand, just holding up that compound for the time being on that southern side.
Well, let's see whether or not that mini 14 is going to result in a few potential hits. Meanwhile, it is going to be Ultra coming through with that UMP. Rogo very, very cautious here, keeping their head on the swivel. And I think rightly so, because we got so many teams in the vicinity. If only they knew exactly how many teams we had surrounding them, they would maybe double down a little bit. But, you know, it is what it is. So let's see how God's Ultimate are going to be looking to get themselves onto that leaderboard even more so.
They did lose one player there in Costi Power, though, so sadly they would have to continue this game as a three-man team, and that's what we're talking about, not being able to keep the whole squad heading towards that later phases of the circle. Achomi looking to go for a northern rotation. Players there from Imperial family did rotate all the way from Novo all the way to the shorelines. Did work out well for them. Now they have to start to look for vehicles around the Muta Power of the map. And DK, as you said, now is the time to start to look at potential of playing in that woodcutter log.
Well, here we go. Speaking of which, though, speaking about woodcutters, Big Baby not exactly in the woodcutting territory, but they could also find themselves a little bit of a positioning here. Meanwhile, over on towards the west side, it is going to be Firestorm and Albi that could look to take things a little bit further, but T-Pair also just lurking on the back end.
I've enjoyed what TPS has done here on this western side so far. Around the farm area and Muta area of the map, they've just been able to do a little bit of damage here and there, get themselves a couple knocks, maybe not the thirds, but just the knocks, getting their arms warmed up. And I think if you're able to be in the game, it helps towards those later phases of the circle. So it's a decent work that they're doing here. The Shelter Caves is where we start to see, Firestorm and Alpi look to hold for the time being. And we'll see how well that plays out for them heading into the rest of the game.
Well, speaking about the rest of the game, it is going to be Epsilon Axe now. With a push up into hard cover, they are going to get contested nearly instantly. It is going to be Imperial family. Oh! But Epsilon acts very quick on the triggers there as they are able to knock down the first two. The rest of Imperials now going to be looking to find a little bit of a different approach instead, heading further on towards the eastern side. And the good thing here for Imperial is there's a great opportunity, right? There is a little bit of a gap for them to try and squeeze through to get themselves a stronger positioning here.
Well, to be honest, they do have that. They do have that chance, but the question is, will they take it? That is the question in mind. As Rush do take the fight against side of Big Baby. These are two of the high teams on the top of the leaderboard going up against themselves. It's a 1-to-1 trade for the time being, as both teams are able to get themselves one knock. The reset, I do not know how possible that will be, but I'm enjoying the position that is coming through from the side of Rush team.
Talk about stepping it up. It's not going to be Big Baby having to defend. Oh, nice play. Come on, get it. There we have it. Dennis locks it in. One down, a few more to go. Now we still just need to see Big Baby and the players there from Firestorm have a bit of a fight. I know they're on opposite ends of the zone, but that is Dennis and Dennis, right? And one of them's got to be the menace. In the meanwhile, speaking about being a menace, Ramon trying to play a little bit of a sparing game here with regards to the ammo, but you got to do what you got to do. And this now opens up a bit of an opportunity for Big Baby up onto the edge of zone.
Oh, Ramon, why? Looking so hard for that run over. Definitely did not work out well as the Raikage just continues to watch that position. Knows that the player is done there, but he was waiting for that one. And this revive, oh no! Big Baby! What?
Ooh, come on. Oh, I mean, come on. Are you surprised, the Crowns? Are you surprised? It is Rush, right? Rush, they've been playing so many upsets. And Dennis now just trying to get the heck out of dodge. But you can see Charmy also not going to be wanting to try and let Dennis escape.
That was, it was so uncalled for, Big Baby. The knock was there. The run over was not needed. The revive was not even possible, given that your player just got knocked. I don't know why they still decided to do that. We're going to leave that talk for later as we see more action on the Western Front. TPS looking to get started with this idea of Team Alpi with a little bit of third-party action, looking to come through from God's Ultimate.
Well, God's Ultimate gonna try and find a little bit of something to happen. Ooh, come on. Now it's gonna be Rush trying to clear up the approach here as well. Oh, as you can see up on the map, God's Ultimate not having the easiest entry, right? Not the easiest bit of a terrain to try and make much use of, as there's a lot of opposition now so occupying the surrounding space. In the meanwhile, I mean, Firestorm, things really loosening up with regards to their current positioning up on the edge of the zone here as well.
Yeah, they have such a great position, but once again, they've lost one player. You know, that not being able to keep your full squad alive has seemed to, you know, not work too well for them. As Castor just go down to one players there from Alpi. It was kind of interesting to see Castor try to turn back from the opponent there, you know, just take the 1v1. But Alpi looking to get started. I do think Alpi do seem to find their mojo out here in the map here of Erangel.
I mean, I think it's a good approach here as well, seeing that we have 2 Erangels, so there's a great opportunity for them to really try and capitalize on, you know, everything that Erangel could bring with it. In the meanwhile, there's going to be Kazama, team that we are also yet to see replicate those efforts from the first Erangel, as we do have Clouds, coming through with a bind, but look at this, Pretty just rushing on forward, not even going to be waiting. I mean, Crowns, Pretty there is just like, you know what, there's an opening, I'm going to just take it.
Yep, going full send with that S12K. You know you've got the shotgun, you know you can do the damage with it. Why not just go ahead and do that? And definitely we're able to do that one. Rush team does go out early. I think this will go down in the books as their worst game of the day. And even their worst game of the day, they're able to get themselves 5 points up on board.
Well, here we go. It's now going to be DX and Avoid. Ooh, DeVito. Stuff smart. Beautiful. Nate, though, does alleviate quite a bit of the pressure here, but will DeVito be able to get the clutch? You can see a very tough bit of a helping hand. MG3, the blue damage we've been waiting to see, then comes
I tell you, it becomes absolute chaos when the blue damage does team up with the LMG. It's almost like giving the blue zone an LMG, as the grenades are excellent from blue. Finds yet a re-knock, another one flies. Morris looking to heal at least one player, get them back on track, but DeVito might just be able to play spoiler, and you can just tell the confidence coming through from blue there to go for that push. LMG in the hand does get beaten by the side, as these 2 teams now start to work against the one side there of God's Ultimate. They will find the healing, but God's Ultimate lose yet another player, and now that advantage that he had in terms of numbers has dwindled down.
Yeah, DeVito getting the lead third, and now it is up to LP to defend their position much further into the zone, but Beo gets ended right then and there. God's Ultimate still trying to pick up as much spacing as they can find. I mean, so far, things panning out quite successfully for them, but for LP, we can't say the same, as they will get taken on down. Out to go 10th place, 2 eliminations up. Vengeance coming back with quite a bit of a swing already, 4 eliminations up. I love the spread though in and around the lumberyard.
They're just holding on the outskirts of the lumberyard, making sure that they're not fully committing to one position at a time, gathering as much information as possible, and it's such a nice position to hold on that southwestern front. Firestorm looking to get started with some shots as Achomi start to find their way into the zone. Does look like Venom has got eyes on them, trying to find at least one knock, but wouldn't be able to find it just yet, as Kazama start to uproot the players there from Epsilon.
Ooh, here we go, Gohan. Definitely trying to ride out that ridge. This is Epsilon now in a little bit of trouble. Gotta be very careful. But up comes Teddy. Big vehicle explosion. But that also at the same time converts that vehicle into a little bit of hard cover. Gohan, Teddy could be finding themselves in a bit of a showdown. Tornado though, to patch that HP bar up. Ooh, Clouds reaching over the ridge. Now, it is that final push to see whether or not Kazama can get the jump in on Epsilon Axe. Up comes the strafing. You can see Teddy absolutely laser focus in onto the position again. The vehicle, beautiful utilization, but the nade comes through, and that is Kazama getting the end of the players there from Epsilon Axe.
Talk about a push coming through from Kazama. This is why they've been doing well. You know, we saw them put up good damage good numbers up on board. We saw their average numbers the other time. They had about eight eliminations on an average. And right now they're looking to meet up to that average again, as they already have 5 and a full squad still up there on that southern front of the game. Now we're down to the final 8 teams. It does look like there's a lot of space to play around, but we do know with these teams, they love to fight. It's only a matter of time before they move close to each other and start to take fights.
Well, speaking of moving closer, here we go as Morris going to be looking to inch their way through. Again, the Lumberyards, a somewhat challenging position to try and play through, but I'm curious to see what's going to be happening on the northern edge. Of course, Dennis still alive, at least the big baby Dennis. We don't see Dennis in for Firestorm, as they've been brought down to a 3-piece. But looking at the positionings that we have here for Kazama and Vengeance, I mean, both squads still rocking all 4 of their players. And I think they could actually mount quite a bit of a dominance coming into this next zone.
Yeah, definitely they will. Having such numbers advantage in this type of zone would play out well. Given that there isn't too much cover to work with, you can always use the smokes. You want to make sure you have as many people covering all the angles as possible. So teams that have got a full squad up right now, they are the ones that, you know, have got these games in their arms, and I want to see how well they'll play with it.
Well, speaking about arms, Chapo is loaded to the brim here with a weaponry, so they are ready to go. A nice suppressed UMP coming through as well. Meanwhile, we do say goodbye to DX, as they will get crossed off the map. Down to the final 7 we are. But again, right, the zone not favoring anybody at this point in time. So I want to see how the teams are going to be looking to get themselves situated, especially Firestorm, who are yet to push through from those northern positionings. Meanwhile, I mean, Vengeance, Grounds, they've got such a good positioning up in towards the Lumberyard. They can just play that positioning over on towards God's Ultimate and maybe even Kazama.
Yep, a lot of advantage that they have on there. No team can just easily push up to their position. It's going to take a whole lot, and maybe even a sacrifice if they're willing to do so. So it's a very nice position being held. Akomi looking to make it into the zone from that northeastern edge, and now Firestorm looking to get their rotation started, but it's starting to bite them as they lose one in Rolex to the side of the journey. More shots looking to come through, and Lazy with the DP28 has been an absolute menace today. Another knock in the books. Maybe the thirst to not be found just yet, but that DP28 is definitely doing a whole lot of damage.
I mean, you gotta commend that spray. That was absolutely beautiful. But speaking about which, Charmy also gonna be looking to apply their own pressures. We can see coming through up in the north. Firestorm now trying to make their break. Rolex is down. Ooh, running on borrowed time. Lazy X also just one hit away from getting sent back. Deepez holding onto their seats here.
Oh, he's definitely got no more meds in the bag. Has to loot that crate, but can he find anything in the box? The grenades, they're landing towards their position. It's not. They don't actually need too much damage to go down, as those nades are already landing towards Lazy. It's only a matter of time. Here comes the 1v1, and it is God's Ultimate Leon getting that knock, and a thirst to follow suit. A little bit of PM on the crate too. As now the side of Vengeance have been reduced to 3.
Well, unfortunate ending coming through there for Bosana. But let's see what Kazama themselves will be able to do. Oh, beautiful nade. What? Wow, Lazy X though. Playing absolutely insane position. Beautiful nade coming through. Just clutch. But Kazama now getting reduced, right? Feeling quite a bit of that aggression dealt to their faces. Somehow, miraculously, Lazy X manages to survive.
It was a very sexy nade to get 2 knocks onto the side there of Firestorm, and now they've got more grenades to launch. The smokes are there, trying to throw that player off. If they can launch it towards that tree, definitely might be able to get themselves a little bit more knocks. Fat John has to get the revives, and that next one just fly up. Kazama has now started to do damage as Fat John does go down. Molotov's being sent towards the position there of Firestorm, and the Molotov does look to be good as Rolex falls. The Molly is still doing more damage. Rolex is burning away. Venom is the last player left to hold on the fort, and Lazy being an absolute thorn in the flesh right now. Dennis gets sent back, and that is going to be goodbye, baby. Goodbye, big baby.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, good try coming through from them regardless. Now we are looking here at Kazama already sitting up on double-digit elims, so I think it is accurate to say that they are really enjoying the opportunities being presented over on Erangel. Vengeance also coming through with a bit of a play as we do say goodbye to yet another team. And now down to 4. I mean, this could swing either which way. I mean, Kazama, they've got the numbers. Vengeance also having a really good presence within the zone. But it is going to be pretty tough for God Ultimate as well as T-Pairs.
Yeah, they're down to just the one player each. And both players happen to be close to themselves, which means they can't really play spoiler onto any of the teams that have the numbers advantage. Vengeance pretty much has an idea of that position there of God's Ultimate, as you can just see Marin out in the outskirts just trying to wait for those players to move. And here comes the vehicle coming through from Team Kazama. Kazama has got such a good spread in the zone, though, trying to gather as much information as possible, trying to look for the remainder of the teams.
I mean, Kazama, they are definitely asserting their position over towards the edge. I mean, they've got, you could always say the entirety of the western half of zone under their control. But at this point, aside from being a good position, doesn't say all too much as to the outcome of this game, right? We still know Vengeance perched on high on the very verge of just having a run down the hill. Meanwhile, it's going to be Marin. Oh! 1-for-1!
I think he got the knock, but then the trade did come through from the third party. Lazy, I've got to give it to this player though. 855 damage being done, and now we will get sent out with only sadly 1 elimination, but that player was a thorn, did so much work, and now decided of Vengeance now, down to just 2 players to hold up against the full Kazuma squad. Can they even the tides? Can they turn the tides? Make it a 2v2, make it a 3v3? That is the question we've got in mind as Pretty. The pick is being awaited there by Chapo. He's like, pick me if you dare.
I dare you. I dare you. Do it again. Do it again. But, I mean, Vengeance, they're in a position where they could still turn one around. I mean, sure, Kazama, they have a very dominating presence. They've got the numbers advantage. But I would almost say that Vengeance have a slight bit of a positional advantage, right? They've got that hill that they could really look to utilize, but they're going to have to get themselves secured up in towards zone. And now with Teddy creeping through here, these utilities could definitely cause quite a bit of a problem now for Vengeance.
Yeah, Vengeance using the utilities of their own too, trying to smoke up the views of the enemies, trying to smoke up every other position. On the side of Kazama, they have such angles being held in that zone. The players there from Vengeance can only do too much. I really don't see this game going in the way of Vengeance there. Kazama has got one too many angles, but Smokes looking quite good though from the side of Vengeance.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is looking good. So let's see whether or not Kazama can follow through and just tighten that grip as they are going to be trying to push on forward. We're also about to hit stage number 9. It's going to be the second time today that we see that stage 9 being played out. Simania now going to be trying their hand, pushing up from that far edge. Slight downhill positioning, but Preeti, I think it's safe to say Preeti has definitely been carrying the team's hope forward. Oh, quick response. And this is a go time now for Kazama as Teddy comes rushing on forward. Andre trying to defend, but Teddy, trying to get the angle up on the rock. The approach is there. Kazama, they want to get this one in the bag, and they do succeed as they lock in the winner chicken dinner. What a play though.
Definitely needed there from the side of Kazama. They were absolutely on fire. I believe they got themselves 10 or 11 eliminations heading out of that game. This is a team that did well on the first Erangel game, and now they're able to replicate it again in another Erangel game.
Well, as we know, right, consistency is key, and you can't really fault what Kazama were able to do in today's matches, as you said, right? Both Erangel, a very, very successful run coming through from them. But as we know, right, aside from having a few moments of happiness, right, a shining play, we're going to see that follow through all the way to the very, very end. But Kazama walking way out of this one with 13 eliminations, 23 total points. I mean, that might just as well be the fattest chicken that we've seen today.
23 points up on board in terms of total points, and 13 eliminations coming through from Team Kazama, boosting up their daily average or their elimination average up a bit. Vengeance being out in second, God's Ultimate in third. I have to tell you, the top 3 teams that we're seeing here are not even what we've seen in the top 3 for the first couple of games. So it's good to see, a little bit of change, a little bit of improvement that is coming through from some of the teams there in the lobby.
Yeah, I mean, we are definitely looking at a bit of a step up as we progress further through the day. But as we know, it's only the first day. We still have a long, long way to go. Speaking of which, though, Rush again being able to persist with that aggression, right? 5 eliminations up on board is going to be looking quite good for them. And Imperials, unfortunately, they are going to be having to settle for a few of those donuts to come in, making a quick stop over at the donut shop. But I think it's a good way to close off the proceedings here for today. I mean, the team's valiant effort trying quite a few things out across the different maps that we've picked through. But as you've pointed out, right, we've seen a slight bit of that evolution, and already that happening on the first day. It makes me quite excited to see what is going to be coming into the next 2 days of this last stage.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping these teams will come back and do their VODs, watch the stream back, try to realize what they may have done right or wrong, especially when it comes to those landing locations. You want to make sure that you're actually landing in the right position, and not taking a hot drop. Because I'm looking at this last Erangel game, I really did not enjoy what I saw in terms of landing.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the teams try and iron out a few bumps, and day one is where we kind of expect to see a little bit of that contention come through for hot drops. Hopefully, day two is going to look considerably better, as the teams now will have an opportunity to do a few of their own VOD reviews, as you've said, to really establish as to where they want to go. But of course, that is going to be happening in the next day, hopefully, right? And speaking of which, of course, on that one, we are going to be coming to an end for our very first day of Last Chance Qualifiers. Be sure to join us back again tomorrow, same time, same place, and even more insane PUBG Mobile action. Until then, stay fresh, stay frosty, and we'll see you all later.